All right, welcome to OSUT Class Bravo Day 1. We'll start off here, a little intro, Huamoto speech. So OSUT is a 4-day course. There's a basic, it's a combination between basic Army infantry training and advanced individual training. So we're going to start off today, Day 1, some classroom stuff. Day 2 be some more classrooms, some more field stuff. Day 3 will be vehicle ID, more classroom stuff. Day 4 will be your live fire FTX, followed by your oral quiz. That being said, you should all take notes during these 3 days of instruction, because that quiz is a go, no-go exercise. If you fail that one question asked orally, you will be recycled back to a varying day of OSUT, or even back to recruit training, depending on the severity of your fuck-up. Is that understood?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. All right. So, does anyone need a second to go get a notepad or anything? Speak up. Let's take a knee if you're going to go do that. No? Nobody? All right. Excellent. So, start off here. My name is Sergeant First Class McCoy. I'm your senior OSUT instructor for Class Bravo. Behind me are my assistant instructors, Sergeant Cole, Sergeant Steele, and Specialist Perrin. I expect you to provide them the same courtesy and respect you give to me at any time. That means referring to them by their rank and last name. In addition, if they give you the chance to speak, if you have a question or comment, make sure you put a C or Q in side chat to indicate that. They will call on you. Make sure you indicate your name. There are no privates here named me, if I'm not mistaken. So when the answers say, thank you, Sergeant, or thank you, Specialist, this is Private so-and-so, here's my question. All right, just like Sergeant Cole put in there, that's how you do it. All right, so a couple final notes here. We are not here to hold your hands. We're not here to baby you in any way. We're here to do our job as volunteers to this unit to make sure you become a functioning member of the 506. So, if we come down harsh on you, if we say something to you that you need to fix, don't take it fucking personally. We're not here to fucking hurt your feelings. In fact, we don't give a fuck about your feelings. We're here to do a job, and your success is the factor in which how well we do our job is based. So, do your best to take notes, pick up what we're putting down. There's a shitload of information that we're trying to cram into 3 days of instruction here. So do your best, pay attention, ask questions. For the love of God, ask questions if you do not understand something. Throughout the course of this class, we will be asking if you understand or if you're tracking or, do you get it, whatever. Silence is not an answer. You need to answer in either the affirmative or the negative. Yes, Sergeant, no, Sergeant, that's fine. All right, so just do not sit silent at all. All right, so we want to make sure everyone's tracking. This is a big class, too, so we'll make sure everyone's getting the proper information. So today, we're going to start with some of the 5 basic soldiering skills. Those consist of shoot, move, communicate, survive, and sustain. Today we'll be covering 2 of those, shoot and communicate. Those are not listed in any particular priority order. Today you're going to learn why shoot and communicate are 2 of the most important. And in addition, communicate may in fact be the most important. So, with that being said, I'm going to hand you off to Sergeant Steele. He's going to get you guys kitted out for the day, take you in the classroom, go over your basic radio setups, etc. All right, Sergeant Steele, take him away. Actually, before we do that, do you gentlemen have any questions or comments before we proceed?
No, Sergeant.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Sergeant.
Who is I?
Private Darby.
Send it.
What was the procedure to go about asking questions during the classroom again?
So you know how to go to your side chat in game?
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, so go to your side chat and do type a C for comment or a Q for question, like that, like you see Sergeant Cole doing right there, and then we'll get to it as soon as we can. If we happen to miss it, just do it again, or at the end, if we ask if you have questions, write it down, and then speak up when we ask if anyone's understanding or has to ask questions. Does that answer your question?
Roger, Sergeant.
Excellent. All right, anyone else? All right. Take it away, Sergeant Steele.
Thank you, Sergeant. All right, so
make sure you all take off your
What
covers
the
before you get in
hell?
my classroom.
follow me over to the box.
Fucking Steam just shit the bed.
Make sure to just grab a rifleman loadout. If you don't have one, you can go into loadouts and default loadouts. There should be a training one in there for you. Let me know if you have any problems. Once you're done, just take a knee over here off to the side.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And also, once you've grabbed everything, make sure you're condition 4. Let me know if you don't know what that means.
So, yeah, everyone has to go through OSUT, everybody. And I say it the Canadian way. I know it's supposed to be OSUT, but I just naturally say it OSUT. So, yeah.
All right. Follow me. Looks like
on my
everybody's
left is
pretty much
4.
ready.
Condition 4, magazines out here, rifles on safety. Then we're all supposed to take our hats off and shades off before we enter the classroom.
For condition 4, gentlemen, make sure there's no magazines in your weapons.
Once you come in, just stand behind one of the chairs. Take a row.
Dibs! You son of a bitch! Mine. I am totally doing an Ace slideshow for the next Sunday out. Not this Sunday because I won't be here, but the Sunday after.
Release interact, sit down in the chair. Is that not working for you three over here? Sit down. There you go.
I heard stand behind it and then I heard sit down.
Left
so
windows. There you go.
just gotta...
hadn't been instructed to sit down yet.
Yep, that's fine.
All right.
I know
so
Brewer's around here
first thing that we're
somewhere.
going to get into is communication, primarily
gonna-
the radio.
gonna yell at us.
So, I personally think this is the most important thing. If you're not communicating with your teammates, obviously they don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, you guys are gonna
So
learn why I hate
firstly,
hearing people say over and
you all
out.
should have
That'll be
obviously
great.
a keybind for your push to talk. If you don't, or if you need to change that, let me know. But going over some of the controls for the radio. So firstly, just hold down your control key and press
Malbec, this
P
is
to pop
meant
up.
to be a realism
Open
to
up
the
your
101st.
radio.
So yeah, it's gonna be pretty close, to say the least.
Does everyone have their radio open?
Yes,
First, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, so I'm going to go over some of the interface on this first and make sure we've got it all set up and everything, and then we'll go over some of the keybinds and how we actually use it once you've actually seen the interface. So first of all, in the very top in the center, you'll see C1 and then some numbers there. That's your current channel and your current frequency. So that's going to change here in a second.
Yeah, right. Oh, no.
The top right button, CLR, that's going to be your clear button. So first of all, go ahead and press that for me. You'll see that clear out that middle window. And then once that's cleared off, I'm going to have you type in 100.1. And once you have that in there, the next button we're going to look at is just below the CLR button, ENT. That's going to be your enter button on the radio itself, so you're going to want to click that. Just to note, if you actually hit enter on your keyboard, that's not going to actually set it, so you want to make sure to click that set frequency button. Does everyone have 100.1 set on the radio?
Roger, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So underneath that, you have a little plus and minus sign. You can cycle between your next channel and your previous channel, and we're going to look at that here in just a second as well. Go ahead and actually press that plus sign for me, and you're going to see that change to a C2.
You can also use the numpad keys from 1 to 8 if your keyboard has a
So
numpad.
moving on with the buttons on the
I always
left,
prefer
on the
that
very
one.
bottom, just to the left of that previous channel button, you're going to have a speakers button. For the most part, as far as you guys are concerned, pretty much don't press that. But if somebody does complain that they're hearing squawking just out loud in general, and they say that your speakers are on, that's the button that's probably going to control that. So if you toggle that, you'll see on the bottom right, you'll see it say speaker or headphones. You want to make sure that it's on headphones so that everyone around you can't hear what's going on your radio. So then to the left of that,
Yeah, I prefer the
little left
152,
arrow,
to
that's
be
going to be your
honest.
set additional channel. So I'm actually going to have you guys go ahead and press that now. And you're going to see on your screen, it's going to change to an A2 instead of a C2. Now if you press it again, it's going to cycle back to that C2. But leave it on A2 for right now. That's going to be your alternate channel. So that will allow you to both listen and speak on 2 different channels without having to actually change which channel you're on. And you'll see a better example of that here in a second. And then to the left of that is your stereo settings. This is pretty much personal preference, but if you click on that, on the bottom right, you're going to see that cycle through which ear you're actually hearing that channel in. So since we're on the additional right now, you're going to see the very bottom say additional.
I always like to
You'll
put
see left
additionals
only,
on my
right
right
only,
and
left
primary
and
on my
right.
left.
Now, personally, as a team leader, I'm on 2 nets pretty much all the time. Actually, all the time. And so I like to set it up where I hear my team net on one ear and then my squad net on the other. That way I can differentiate a little bit of who's talking to me. All right, so also, now we're on that A2, but we still have random numbers in there. So on the top right, click that clear frequency button for me again. And then this one, I'm going to have you
100.
type in 100.
Yep.
And then make sure you click that enter button, that set frequency.
So they have fire team nets as the TAC 1s, TAC 2s, and then the
Same out,
solid
thanks,
block
sir.
is their
All right. So I
squad
want you to
net.
remember these frequencies. Write them down. These are the frequencies you're going to use throughout the remainder of OSUT. All right. 100 is the squad net frequency. So
Called
team
it.
leaders, get your question second, Private. Team leaders will talk
Let's
to
give him a warm welcome,
the squad
shall
lead
we?
and the other team leader on the squad net. The team designations are derivatives thereof. So 100.1 will be the alpha team net. 100.2 will be the Bravo team net. Make sure you write those down. They will not change within your time here at OSUT. However, each squad within the unit has their own designation, so you get into that later, but for now you need to make sure you remember these 3 frequencies. Carry on, Sergeant.
Thank you, Sergeant. All right, so you should now actually. Who was it? Private Johnson had a question.
Yes. For the second channel, for the Bravo channel, it was going to be Alpha 2, correct?
Yes. So if you're on your second channel in that little screen, you're going to see Alpha and then
I
number
mean, Mal,
2.
it's also really
And then next to that, it should
easier
say
to carry a
100
javelin
if
weapon
you have
system in
entered that
Arma
properly.
than in real life, or be the machine gunner auto rifleman in Arma than real
Thank
life,
you, sir.
because you're not
No
carrying
problem.
that
All
heavy
right, so
weapon system
real quick,
around.
also to just talk about the alternate and the standard channel. Here's the thing: if you're actually sitting on the alternate channel, like if you closed your radio right now and you were sitting on this alternate channel, you're
Then they
not
would
going to hear
both
your
be
primary
on
frequency. So
primary.
what you're going to want to do is press that little minus sign on the bottom right, that previous channel. Make sure you're sitting on C1, Charlie 1. So that's going to be your main channel, and then your alternate is what you're going to hear secondarily.
I'm waiting for Brewer
Does
to
that
come
make
in
sense?
the chat.
Roger,
I'm
Sergeant.
waiting.
Roger, sir.
If not, he's lurking.
All right. So let me make sure I set
think
up
we'd
over on
all
this.
rather carry an
here.
M240
Okay,
than
so
a
then you
Jav.
can press escape. And actually, I'm sorry. Press Control P again. Make sure to bring up that radio again. And the very bottom left button, that stereo settings that I was talking about, with you being sitting on channel 1, go ahead and press that until it cycles and has that
all
channel
these
in
are
your
set,
left
right?
ear. So that's going to be sort of that
Yeah,
top
set.
part. You're going to see that as well as the additional. So you want that top part to say left ear. And then once you have that set, click on that plus sign on the bottom right. So you go back up to that next channel, that alternate that we set up. Should be 100. You're going to click that stereo settings on the bottom left again and make sure that that says additional is on the right ear. So you'll see left ear on that top part, right ear next to additional. Now does everyone have that set up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Alright, now you can hit
Oh, that
escape
sounds
and
like
get
a
out
day
of
in
there.
hell.
And I'm going to go over some keybinds that we're going to use to actually use the radio that we just set up.
I have all my keybinds in my mouse for it. Usually it's caps lock and T, and then for long range control caps lock.
Alrighty, so as you saw there, Control P, that's going to open that short range radio. That one's pretty straightforward, we just worked with it. Now if you have a long range radio, like the one, for example, that I have on my back, what you're going to do is hit Alt P, that'll actually open up the long-range radio interface. So that's going to be separate. You'll see that if you're in a vehicle as well. For the most part, unless you're driving a vehicle, you guys are not going to be messing too much with a long-range radio. So another really important one is Control Tab. So hold down Control and press Tab. You're going to see a little icon on the bottom right that's going to cycle through whisper, normal, and yelling. So make sure, at least for this part, I would say probably have everyone set on yelling. That way we can hear you. Basically what that changes is how far away people can be and still be able to hear you. And then, let's see, so for your short-range radio, on your numpad, if you press your numbers, so 1, 2, 3, things like that, you're actually going to see the bottom right is going to change what channel you're on. So if you press your numpad number 1, it's going to make sure you're on that main channel, the 100.1. It'll tell you what frequency that is too. And then, pretty importantly, to transmit over that radio is going to be your caps lock key by default. Just hold that down, send your traffic. Now, on your alternate, that A2 that we set up, the frequency 100, to transmit over that by default is going to be T, your tango key.
Yeah,
So
Steam
that
died
makes
because
sense
they're
so far.
updating their servers. I got a update on it as I started the stream. So
Roger,
just
Sergeant.
waiting
Yes,
for
sir.
a bit.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right. So then, additionally, on the long-range radio, it is a little bit different. The default for that is you hold down Control and hit caps lock. That's going to transmit over the long-range radio. And then the default to transmit to an additional channel on the long-range, because you can set that up too, similar to the short-range, is going to be your Y, as in Yankee. So again, that's not really a radio that you guys are going to use too often. We're going to focus on just the short-range. So, as you've also seen, though, just to go over, we use the NATO alphabet, so Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, things like that. If you need to Google it or make yourself a little cheat sheet, you're more than welcome to do that. Obviously not going to go through the whole alphabet here, though. Just make sure that you understand that that is what we use. All right, and then real quick as well, just before we get into doing radio checks and explaining how that goes, just make sure that before you get on your radio, make sure you figure out what you're going to say before you say it. Can't queue up the radio and sit there and say and go on for 5 minutes and not know what you're talking about.
Receiving station.
On top of
sending
that, if
station,
you're using an alternate
message.
radio channel, like we had set up, 100, what you want to do is actually,
Then
after
over
you
or
transmit,
out,
if you're using your
depending on
main
what you're saying.
channel to transmit, so 100.1, after you send that traffic and you release that caps lock key, give it a second or two, and then press down your alternate channel and start
'Cause
sending your
otherwise it
traffic over
stickies
that.
through T4.
Sometimes Arma's a little finicky. If
It's
you
not
do it too
sometimes,
quick,
it's every
going to
single
try and
time.
transmit on the same net that you were just on before, and you'll probably have people yelling at you that you're transmitting on the wrong net. So keep that in mind. Just take a little short, like 1 second pause, then start transmitting on the other channel. And does that make sense?
Roger, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
Cool.
Oh god, the PV-11 joke. That wasn't me, that was Sierra.
All right, so we're going to go over doing radio checks. So, this is pretty straightforward. It's something that you're not going to probably be perfect at right away, but it's something that you're going to do so often that you're going to just start rattling off like it's in your sleep, probably. So, starting off the call, the calling station is going to say, "This is me." So, in your case, it'll be your name. Radio check on frequency, whichever frequency number that you're going to be
Stand
on.
by, Sergeant, real quick.
Yeah.
So the way that I want you to do this in OSUT while you're here is very specific. So Sergeant's correct, but I want you to think about it as you, this is me. So I guys want you to remember this and write this down. Hey you, this is me. This is how you're going to start every radio transmission. All right? So at least to initiate the conversation. So for radio check, you're going to say, any station this net, this is your name. So, hey you, this is me. Radio check on frequency, whatever you're talking on, over. All right? That's the start. Carry on, Sergeant.
Thank you, sir. Alright, so after you get that down, then you're obviously going to, let go of your caps lock key, because you're ending your transmission with over. Then on that receiving end, they're going to say your name in reply. This is, and then their name. And they're going to say, read you 5x5, Lima Charlie. Basically, you're telling them, hey, I can hear you loud and clear on this frequency. So you're going to read off that frequency number, over. And then after that's done, the original calling station is going to get back on the net and say, Roger, out. Make sense to everyone so far?
Roger,
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, can you repeat
Alright.
they say in response to the radio check?
Yep, I can repeat. Well, actually, let me just throw this out there real quick, and we'll get into keywords here in a second. Once you're on the radio and everything, you want to try to make sure to throw out that word repeat. We'll go over that in just a second, but keyword you're going to want to try to say is say again. Just get in the habit of doing that. Alright, so I'll just go over the whole thing one more time, just real quick. So the calling station is going to say, any station, this net, this is, insert your name here, radio check
Send in
on
Goat Team
frequency,
6
and then the
now.
frequency number, over. Then the receiving station is going to say, hey you, their name, this is, and then whatever that receiving station's name
Thanks for
is.
the 8-month resub.
I read
Hope
you
join the
Lima
ops and help
Charlie
you join the
on
school.
frequency,
Sit down training.
whatever the frequency number is, over.
Yeah, say repeat all the time,
And then
right?
the last bit, which gets
They have a
often
mortar
forgotten,
platoon.
is that original calling station gets
They
back
hear
on and says
repeat, they'll
Roger
just do the mission
out
again.
to end that full transmission. Everyone got it now?
Yeah, we say say.
Yes,
I
sir.
know that one.
Yes, sir.
Good, because we're going to do some test ones. So we're just going to start from over here. Dogan and Johnson, you guys are going to do a radio check between yourselves. So Dogan, you're going to go ahead and start it off. Johnson, you're going to be the receiving station. On your main channel, sorry. So 100.1.
Any station this net, this is Private Dogan. Radio check on 100.1. Over.
Did Johnson read you Lima Charlie over frequency 100 over?
Roger.
Out.
Out. The other
All
guy said
right,
over
so
twice.
Dogan, your first part was pretty clear, and that was correct. Just to go over the receiving station. So Johnson, make sure you're saying, hey you, this is me. I just caught on, this is Johnson. So if you did say that, just make sure you're pressing the radio key before you start speaking.
Also, one more thing to add to that, Sergeant. So, if you heard what you said, Private Johns, you said over twice.
Yeah.
But you meant it in a different way. So, make sure that you're only using these certain pro words, like over, when they're intended. So, when you responded, you said, I heard you over this frequency. So that is going to confuse a shit ton of people. So make sure you're clearing it up with, Private Dogan, this Private Johnson. I have you Lima Charlie on frequency 100.1 over. All right? Because you'll be sending some mixed messages when you say over like that. Tracking?
Tracking.
Tracking,
Alright.
Sergeant.
Carry on.
Perfect. And also, Dogan, you did forget to out your transmission, but I think you may have heard somebody say that. And go ahead with your question.
Sergeant's Private Dogan. My key binding is the same for my radio and my TeamSpeak. Is that going to be
Repeating the
an issue?
mic? My bad.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So, you want to go ahead and change your TeamSpeak keybind real quick? So whatever your TeamSpeak keybind push to talk is, that's going to be just your direct talking. Like how I'm talking right now, that's your regular
Oh yeah, Dapper. White change something
TeamSpeak
and it
bind.
works
So
well.
if you have extra buttons on your mouse, it's a good one. I use the tilde key left to the number 1 on the number row. That works for me. But yeah, make sure it's not sharing a key with any of the radio keybinds.
Roger that. Thank you, Sergeant. Can I take 2 seconds to change that real quick?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. Well, yeah, we can carry on with radio checks while he fixes that, because I think they got the point.
Gotcha. Real quick, did you want Johnson to be the opening or just
Yes.
move on to the next two?
Yeah. So Private Johnson, you'll start one with Liru. Liru, you'll go to, is it Sierra?
Roger, sir.
Cool.
Yeah, Sierra to Darby. Darby to Porter. Porter to Marston. Marston, you'll do radio check with Sergeant Steele.
All right, take it away, Johnson, when you're ready.
Alright. This is Johnson, radio check, frequency 100, over.
Private Johnson, this is Private Liru. I read you 5x5 on frequency 100, TAC 1, over.
Roger, out.
All right, real quick, Johnson. So first, you did forget the any station this net. So make sure on your formal radio traffic you're saying, "Hey you, this is me." So in this case, you don't. In this case, you would pretend like you're not knowing who you're calling to, which is often the case. So that's why you say any station this net. And just to also clarify, when you're saying on frequency 100, make sure to get in that 0.1, because that's also probably going to confuse people. For example, like me, if I'm sitting on squad and TeamNet, and I hear somebody doing a radio check and they say 100, then I think they're doing it on 100. I'm going to reply on 100, and then they're going to be like, who you talking to?
And one more thing, actually. So on the radio, we never group our numbers. When we just talk, normally, we can say 100, whatever. But whenever we put out numbers on the radio, we always want to break it up. So 100 is 100, 253, 253. All right, so make sure we're not grouping numbers on the radio just for clarity, because that shit can get real confused real quick. All right. Carry on. Someone had a question too, I believe.
Yeah, speak up.
Private Marston.
Yes. I was just wondering, we are doing this on the additional channel 100.1, yes?
Should be a regular channel, C1 100.1. Your alternate additional should be 100.
Okay, I have that.
Do you have that set up the right way?
Yep. Got it now.
All right.
Okay.
Couple more questions, Private Johnson.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're gonna be
just
here
to
a while.
clarify, when I'm doing the receiving, how would I call that again? Just to clarify.
When you're receiving the radio check, like if someone's calling to you,
When I'm calling in, how would I clarify?
That would
So,
be
you would-
Roger, you.
if you
this
don't
is
know who you're
me.
calling, you're gonna say you. This is me.
I
So
read you,
any station
and then
this
your
net.
number by
This
number.
is Private Johnson. Radio check on
And then
frequency
on the frequency,
100.1
and then over.
Okay, then if
I'm waiting to hear someone say how
and-
copy at the
and then
end.
the receiving
get to hear
station will
that, Ran.
say Private Johnson. In this example, Private Johnson. This is Private Liru. I have you Lima Charlie, or 5x5 on frequency 100.1 over. Then you respond, just Roger out. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Now, of course, the training's always trained you to be
And
formal,
then I
but in
believe one
actual
other
ops,
person had a
people are a
question.
little
Darby, I
more
think?
casual.
Private Darby, question?
It's fun because in the video game,
Did
I'm
we
sitting in
break-
a chair, and IRL, I'm
we break
sitting in
you?
a comfy chair.
To be clear, it's any station. This is me. If I don't know who I'm talking to on the radio.
Yeah, if you know who you're calling, you can just call them. So, since you know, technically in this case, you're calling Porter, say Private Porter, this is Private Darby, radio check on frequency 100, over, 0.1, over. Yeah, that's the one.
Roger, sir.
So, yeah, if you don't know who you're calling, or if you get in, you're getting your gear, and you just want a radio check, and you don't know who's there.
Well, Mal, I mean,
any
I do a
station
less
this net will
formal
be
training
fine.
in TSB.
If you're calling someone specific, or if you're a team leader requesting radio checks from your team, you can call them
But
by name specifically.
when they go over radio
And
proverbs,
then when you guys are done, we can go
half
over
of them
calling
I don't
stations and
use,
stuff
so
like
half
that
of them I
real
need
quick.
to write down because I don't have them
Sounds
memorized.
good. And Dogan, do you want to test real quick? Just say something, but not over net. Make sure that it's not.
I know,
down
2
here,
levels of immersion.
Radio check. How do you have
Sitting in a chair.
All right, perfect.
Cool. Voice
Not really a
box
radio
check.
check.
Can't
Radio-
wait for Arma 4
voice check
VR.
confirmed.
All right, cool. So moving on, Lear doing a radio check with Sierra.
Any station on this net, this is Private Liru requesting radio check on frequency 100, TAC 1, over.
Private Liru, this is Private Sierra. Read you loud and clear on channel frequency 100.1, over.
Roger, out.
Alright, that's pretty good. We had a little bit of copied words in there. You know, you just have to say frequency 100.1.
Yeah, actually, let me just to clear up some confusion on the difference between a channel and a frequency. So this is how I like to think of it. The channels on your radio are like the presets in your car stereo.
Channel is
right?
just for
so channel 1, channel 2, those are your preset numbers. So everyone's channel 1 could be different, right? So that's why we never reference channels. We only reference the frequency or the net that we're using, all right? So you don't need to say channel, just say frequency.
Well, as comparing a casual milsim to a physical realism community is like comparing apples to oranges.
So do the radio check with Darby.
Roger, start.
Not surprised. I'm not surprised people on TSB make fun of me for liking this stuff.
Radio check on 100.1, over.
That's why Sniper Wolf made me grow a thick fucking skin.
Private Sierra, this is Private Darby, Reggie Lima, charting on frequency 100, TAC 1, over.
Roger, Private Sierra, out.
Oh yeah, I know it broad. Again, like I said a few minutes ago, this
not
is
necessary to say your name at the end, but
this is teaching you how to do it all the formal ways. That way, they train you on the formal ways, and when you get an actual billet,
so
then
Darby
it gets more casual. It's like that in any community.
This is Private Darby, radio check on frequency 10, TAC 1, over.
Private Darby, this is Private Porter. Read you loud and clear on 100.1, over.
This is Private Darby, Roger, out.
Bam.
All right.
Just trust me, like squad level, people are
Porter,
just
you're
gonna
do a radio check with Private Marston.
Any station this net,
radio
Private
check.
Porter, radio check on 100.1, over.
But just to get people in the mood.
This is Private Marston. I lead you Lima Charlie on frequency 100.1, over.
Roger, out.
All right, just make sure, like Sergeant McCoy said, make sure it's 100.1. Don't group that number together. And who had the comment? I just missed the name.
Private Sierra, Sergeant Smith.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to apologize in advance, Sergeant Smith. 7 years of Army experience, trying to break my mind out of it, getting to the realism.
Yeah,
no problem. Also, my name starts.
I will say that it is a little tough.
Yeah, there's break, and then there's break.
For those of you that are active duty or have been active duty,
means you need to take
a lot of the stuff
second.
we're going to cover in this course of this
break,
class will be refresher stuff. We pull a lot of this from the Army Infantry Handbook, so just bear with it.
Roger, Sergeant, just trying to track.
And
no worries.
Priority
No worries.
traffic, and then your emergency traffic.
Carry on.
Alrighty, and then lastly, Marston,
jazz.
you're going to do a radio check, and I'll respond.
Yeah, as I'm doing
Any
Saturday
station
app.
this net, this is Private Marston, radio check in frequency 100.1, over.
Private Marston, this is
Yeah,
Sergeant
we'll be
Steele,
doing
radio...
Sniper Wolf SOP afterwards.
Private Marston, this is Sergeant Steele, Lima Charlie on 100.1, over.
Roger, out.
Alright, sorry for being on the wrong frequency there.
Plans to get my ass kicked. Blowing my nose,
All right.
sorry.
Cool. Good job. All right. Thank you, Sergeant Steele.
I hate being sick
here,
while I
cover a
stream.
few things, and then we'll carry it on.
Thank you.
All right. So we've learned how to set up our radios. So as you've seen, the calling protocol for people is very specific. So everyone in this unit has what's called a calling station, not to be confused with a call sign. Call signs are
Ghost Stone.
for larger entities. So, for example, Alpha Company, call sign Havoc. That's the company's call sign. So calling stations are a derivative thereof. Everyone in the unit has a specific calling station.
Havoc.
So, for example,
1,
the first sergeant
6.
is Havoc 7. Anyone that calls for Havoc 7 on the radio can only be calling for him. If someone calls for Havoc 3-7, that's me. I'm the only 3-7 in the unit. They can only be calling for me. Squad leads are designated by their squad numbers. So for example, 1-2. That's Havoc 1-2, that's their calling station. When we get to teams, This is where it gets a little, we try and simplify it a little bit. So there's 2 teams in a squad, Alpha and Bravo. We don't need to say 1, 2 Bravo. Just within your squad, you're going to be referring to the team leaders as Alpha and Bravo respectively. Everyone tracking so far?
Roger, sir.
Tracking.
So that means if you are a team leader, and I guarantee some or most of you will have the chance to be a team leader throughout this course, when you're in that position, you no longer have a name. You are Alpha or Bravo. So that's how you refer to yourself on the radio. That's how others will refer to you on the radio.
His car creaks.
When you get down to the team net, technically
Fucking
everyone
Cherokee
does
jokes.
have a calling station related to their billet. So 1,
Not
2
bad.
Alpha, automatic rifleman or AR. But on team net, where it's a lot less formal, so we just use names. That's fine. You'll notice that team net is a lot more informal. But as you move up the tiers, squad net to platoon net, the need for professionalism increases greatly. So actually what I have now, I'm starting to still come back up here and go over some of the radio pro words that we use during radio transmissions and some certain numbers that we say differently over the radio as well. Thank you, Sergeant Steele.
Thank you, Sergeant. All right, so pretty quickly, the numbers that we use differently, they're going to be the number 3. Over the radio, we say tree. And then the number 9, we use niner. It's pretty straightforward. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to go over some of these radio pro words. So bear with me.
Oh yeah, as we gotta set that
All
up
right,
for
so
tomorrow.
one that we use pretty often
Completely slipped
is
my
going to be
mind.
break. So usually that's going to indicate the separation of your transmission. So if you're saying something and you need to either say you're giving a contact report and you need to take a second and actually figure out where it is, you would say, this is over here, break,
I
get
told
that
you as
number
it
that you
slipped my
need,
mind.
then come back over the radio and finish out that transmission. A couple other ones that we use pretty often, correct and correction. So correct is just basically an affirm, just saying you're correct, answering with a yes. Correction is if you have made an error, you're going to come back over the net and say correction, and then say what your corrected version is. Disregard
Call
is
of
another
Duty.
pretty common one. Pretty much, if you have a transmission that's in error, but there's not really a correction after it, just say disregard this. So that's going to disregard that transmission.
Bin Maniac, I have no idea why we can't just say 9. What's their house there?
All right, and another really important one, like I was mentioning before, trying to get out of the habit of saying repeat. So what you're going to want to get embedded into your brain is I say again. So that is that you are repeating that transmission. So on the other side of that, if you're asking for someone to repeat their transmission, you would say again. Also, another thing that you'll hear pretty commonly is like say again your last, or last calling station, say again. That's just asking them to say again their last is just say again that last transition that they had sent. Similarly, if you don't know what the calling station was that just came over the radio, last calling station, say again, that's going to say, you know, whoever just transmitted, say your traffic again. One that's not too common, but I do hear every now and then, is a read back. So very formally, if you're saying I read back and you basically read back verbatim what they had read to you, they're going to come back over and confirm or correct what your read back was.
Let's
And
give
then
them a
really
warm
important
welcome,
ones, out and over. Very big difference between these two. Out is ending that transmission, and that there's no answer required afterwards, no answer expected. So after you're at the end of that transmission, and this is going to be the calling station that outs that traffic, unless somebody is of a higher rank, they can out you, but in most cases it's going to be that original calling station. The very end of what they have to say, they're going to say out. That's like you guys saw with the radio checks. At the very end, you say Roger, out. So over is ending that transmission, but a response is necessary. So again, as going back to the example of your radio checks that you just did, you're going to say, I'm doing a radio check on this net, and you say over. That means you're waiting for someone to respond. So essentially that line of communication is still open, you're waiting for somebody to respond to you. Until they do respond, then you're done with your transmission, then you say out. And make sure, do not use both of those together. We are not some Hollywood kick-ass special forces.
Over and out, people.
Fake over and out and all that good
I
stuff.
slap zucchini.
Make
every
sure to
time he
use those
does that to
properly.
me.
Also, going back really quick with break, another time that you'll actually hear that is break, 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 which means you're breaking up that transmission that's going on currently because there's priority traffic to follow. And then similarly along those lines, priority is when you have precedence over that traffic. So as it sounds, it's priority traffic. So we also have Roger. Similarly, a lot of people will use copy. That's just letting the last calling station know that you received that last transmission. And then a lot of these, it's going over similar things
Over and
like
out,
this
how
is.
copy. Shut the
So
fuck up, Don.
similar to your radio checks, you're saying,
That's
hey,
how
you,
breweries
this
said
is
that.
me. Just designating who's actually calling. That's very important because they need to know who they're talking to. And then, besides that, another similar one with Roger and copy is Wilco. Basically, that is saying that you will comply. So that's also giving sort of an affirmative as well as, hey, I heard you. So it's more
I
like,
thought
I
it was
heard
will
you, I'm going to
cooperate.
do what you
Oh.
just requested. I believe that's all the
I
important
proposed
ones
the blood
on
dragon.
here.
Damn,
Alright,
if she was a
thanks,
blood
Sergeant.
dragon, that would be pretty hot.
All
You know,
right,
'cause of the
so
fire.
a couple more I'm going to throw out here.
It's gonna
In
be another
addition to the Roger and Wilco, just to drive this point home here. So when you say Roger, that
Trying to
means
make a harem, though.
that's saying that you understood information being passed to you. When you say Wilco, that means you're acknowledging an order and that you will comply with that order. So if I send down an order to you that I need you to follow and you say Roger, that's just a big fuck you to me. All right? So if you need to understand the difference and listen and make sure you're listening to what you're hearing and understand in your brain what constitutes the difference between information and an order. A couple other pro words. This goes back to the over and out scenario. So there's one that's wait over. That means you need approximately 30 seconds to get back to that calling station to provide whatever information they requested.
That's a really important one if you're
Keep in
getting
mind,
sensory
because it's
overload.
wait over, you still are maintaining control of that net. So no one else should be keying up to transmit because you and that other calling station have that net currently active. Now, if you say wait out, you freed up that net, and that's telling the other station that you need about at least a minute to get back to them with that information while also freeing up the net for other traffic. So make sure you are using those.
I've always had a question
appropriately.
about this,
Privately-
so I do want to ask. Thank you, Sergeant. For a wait over, if you need to then give priority traffic, would you follow that up with a break during the wait time, or would you just transmit?
So you're saying if you were not part of that transmission and you had a priority or emergency traffic that you needed to break in with that?
Yes.
You would, at that point, you would use break to
Okay.
indicate to all
Figured.
stations that you are taking over that net.
Got it. Thank you, Sergeant.
Yep. All right, and to emphasize
Because if
the
you gotta
types
wait
of
over
traffic
and then
here,
like
so
a
we have three
freaking
types.
BMP2
First
like
is
fucking
normal,
barrels down
regular
a hill
traffic,
to your left and you're the only one
pretty
watching
standard.
that sector.
Most of the shit we say
that's
is
one of the questions I've
regular,
always had
and the
over
next
past
level
few
up,
years.
as the sergeant said, priority traffic. So, say hypothetically, if information's being passed and the squad gets in contact.
This is nice because a
that
lot of
means
these
they
guys are
have priority
ex-military, so I can
traffic.
actually
So
ask
if
all
they
my
need to break in,
actual
say, hey,
questions.
break, this is 3-2, troops in contact, and then they give their contact report. That is an acceptable time to break
Yeah, exactly, Broad.
into traffic.
you
However,
certain
the next level
scenarios.
up is emergency traffic. This emergency traffic, let's just say hypothetically, you have a fucking BMP2 rolling
I'm
up
gonna
on your
propose
position.
the Bloodway next year. We're
and
waiting
you're at
until we
18.
can
That's
live
a fucking
with each
emergency.
other.
You need to get a hold of someone for fucking help right now.
It's a complicated
Obviously,
thing.
trying to differentiate between these three types of traffic is going to fall upon the team lead or whoever's utilizing the radio. You're going to have to use what we call common sense to figure out what is going to be classified as any one of those three. All right. Any other questions about that?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
Any questions or anything about anything we've covered up to this point?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
All right, let's two.
No, Sergeant.
No,
All
Sergeant.
right.
Address the sergeant.
All right.
If this was
So at this
IRL,
point, I'm
you
going to
said
hand you over to
nothing, you would
Sergeant
get
Cole.
yelled
to
at.
go over some weapon familiarization, some of the basic equipment that we
Yes,
use.
we get to use the A slideshow.
And some smoke colors, stuff like that. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's fair,
We'll
Zombie.
go over that on day 2.
Basically,
Alrighty,
I haven't
thank you,
proposed to her
Sergeant
yet
McCoy.
because school.
Alright,
We don't
so
live
I'm gonna
together
go and
yet.
Get these slots up here.
So I'm waiting till I have to graduate college now, and she's going to work for a year. And then we'll move in and hopefully have enough money for a townhouse as long as the economy doesn't stay fucked.
Alrighty.
Oh, this puppy.
So, first I'm going to go over some weapon optics. Now, the main weapon system that you guys will be carrying, more than likely, is the M4. While the M4 is capable of mounting a wide array of optics, an optic may fit on the rail, but only certain sight
That
reticles
line
are
underneath is
calibrated
supposed
to
to
achieve
represent
proper
19
point of
inches
aim,
shoulder to shoulder,
point of,
right? I
and
forget.
point of impact. The standard magnified optic is the
it's 19.
M150 RCO, or Rifle Combat Optic.
It's 18
That's
inches?
otherwise known as the ACOG. This
Why'd I have
optic
in my
has
head
a
that was
4 times
18
power
or 19?
magnification and a range estimation sight reticle known as the B or bullet drop compensator. Behind me you see an example of the BDC. Now the BDC is calibrated so that each crossbar completely covers a 19-inch
No,
target,
as there's no
which is the
training
average
specializations for
shoulder width
optics.
at the corresponding range. So if you look
Thankfully.
up at the chevron, that would be the very tip of it is 100 meters. Right in between it is 200 meters, and at the bottom of it is 300
Yeah,
meters.
Clark, some units are
If you look
realism.
below the chevron, you'll see
They
the
take
number
their
4.
training seriously.
Obviously, that indicates 400 meters. Between that and the middle line
People
is
like me actually
450,
like this stuff.
and then you'll have
We're weird, aren't we?
500, and then you'll have 600, 700, and 800. I'm going to go over the weapon systems that we carry and utilize. First one is the weapon I was just speaking of, the M4 carbine. This is the standard issue weapon for the United States Army and is a lightweight, operated, air-cooled, magazine-fed, shoulder-fired weapon. It can be fired in either automatic or semi-automatic mode. Purpose of this weapon
Did
is
you
to
just say
provide
shoulder
personnel
fired?
an offensive and defensive capability to engage targets in the field at ranges out to 500 meters against a point target and 600
I'm used to
meters
hearing that
against an
term
area
with
target.
AT
An
systems.
example of a point target would be a tree. Example of an area target would be a cluster of trees.
Yeah, it fits in the
Adapter rails
shoulder, okay.
allow
I'm too used
operators
to hearing that for
the
launchers.
capability to mount various weapon accessories such as optics, flashlights, bipods, laser aiming
Over shoulders
devices,
AT, that's
and
fair.
etc. I'm going to go over the M320. The M320 and M203 are very common.
Difference
those are
between the
main,
203 and
weapon
320
systems that
is
we
the
use to sling 40
203 can
mics.
go
40
100
mics
meters
are
less.
the grenades that you see on
Or
my
at least
chest.
it's ranged out. They can be effective up to,
the
I've seen
M320
drum
can be
kill
used as
shit
a
at 500
standalone
meters.
or a underbarrel attachment. Now, the main difference between the M320 and the M203, they both obviously sling 40 mics, but one of them has a more effective range due to the fact that the leaf sight is off to the side of the weapon system. The little line that's pointing out in between the rail, that is the leaf optic. On the M203, it is above the optic, or above on the top rail, which means it is obscured by the optic on your weapon. I'm going to go over the M249.
That's my favorite. And you get my highlight out.
The M249 SAW or squad automatic weapon is a machine gun,
Where I shot
gas-operated,
an
air-cooled,
M24
belt, or
down with this
magazine-fed
puppy.
automatic weapon that fires from the open bolt position. Maximum rate of fire is 850 rounds per minute. Ammunition feeds into the weapon from a 200-round ammunition box containing a disintegrating metallic split-link belt. Only in emergencies are M249 gunners going to be using 20 or 30-round M16 rifle magazines or Stagnag. In part because this increases the chance of stoppages and also decreases the amount of volume of fire or rate of fire that the M249 can unleash. This is going to be carried by at least 2 people in each squad.
It's because you
and
don't
1
want your
person in each fire
M249
team.
guy firing single bullets. You want him firing 3 to
I'm
5
going to go over
round
the
bursts.
M240.
So with a 30-round mag, he's going to get through that
This is the
magazine very
M240
quickly.
Bravo. We also have an M240 Golf. The M240 is a belt-fed, air-cooled, gas-operated, fully automatic machine gun.
And this
Fires
one's
from the
also
open
known
bolt
as the Big
position,
Black
similar
Dick of
to the
Freedom.
SAW. Ammunition is
Brewer
fed into the
would put
weapon
it.
from a 100-round bandolier containing a disintegrating metallic split-link belt, similar to the SAW.
Oh, I'm not
gas
surprised.
from
What's
firing one
that?
round provides
Sniper
the energy
Wolf,
for firing the next round,
Bill
and this
getting
gun
very
functions
in-depth with their
automatically
frickin'
as long
trainings,
as
man.
he's
It was
supplied
great
with
back in the day.
ammunition and the trigger is held to the rear. The M249B machine gun supports the rifleman in both offensive and defensive operations and is used to engage targets beyond the range of 5.56. It is chambered in 7.62. These are carried by
Well, it
2
did look a little
members
funny.
in each weapon squad. So at any time, the platoon leader will be able to employ at least 2 of these bad boys
That would be
onto
the
the
4th
field.
squad, 2 machine gunners, and then 2 AT
I'm going to
specialists.
go over the
They usually carry
M13684.
javelins.
There it is.
That's
This
what
is
we have on our
the
back.
M13684. It's a lightweight, self-contained SLM designed for use against improved armor of light armored vehicles. So things of the nature of BTR, BMPs, things like that. You will not be using this against a tank because all you'll be doing
Yeah, no,
against an
as a lot of
MBT
people that are
is
higher up
poking
in
the bear,
TSB
and
do.
you definitely do not want to fucking do that. Provides lethal fire against light armored vehicles, as I already said, and has an effect on most enemy fortifications, although you only are to be using that in extreme conditions. Normally you let the 40 mic or the grenadiers deal with fortifications.
Yes, this is a training stream.
It does have a maximum effective range of 2,100 meters, but if you're able to hit that, I will personally buy you a pizza. But its maximum effective range is 300 meters. The M136 is assigned 1 per squad. It was normally carried by the Alpha team and is carried by the rifleman, the billeted rifleman in that fire team. You all have one on your back right now. I'm going to go over the Carl Gustav.
I agree, as it's not Mike, it's millimeter, but...
Okay, there's no slide for that, but the Carl Gustav.
So
or
there
the
are some
Moz,
slides that don't
it's carried by
have
the weapons,
or some
84
weapon systems that
millimeter
don't have slides.
recoilless
I know
rifle,
that.
carried only by weapon squad and
Carl
armor
Gustav
specialists.
also knows the
So just
Moz.
as there's 2 M240s in a weapon squad, there's 2 Moz in a weapon squad. It's capable of employing a vast array of
Yes,
ammunition
I'm
for use
officially in
against
the
armored targets,
506
hard and
now.
fixed positions,
The
and personnel,
dual
as well
clanning
as
thing got
deploying smoke
reversed.
and illumination. Depending on the target
Not
and
as a
ammunition
special
selected, it's capable of
circumstance or
ranges out
anything,
to
rather
1,000
they ruled
meters.
TSB as a casual milsim
The
community.
M3 Moz is included
And therefore
for
not a
information
realism
purpose
community, and therefore it doesn't violate the
only.
dual clanning rule.
Guard that. The next is the.
When are we
Joint
going for
Combat
that
Missile
pizza?
Systems.
Yeah, right.
PCMS are used primarily to defeat main battle tanks and other armored combat vehicles. Current force, this category of weapon includes the
Thank
TOW,
you, Z, I
which is
appreciate
normally
it.
mounted on top of vehicles, and the Javelin. The TOW and Javelin provide overmatch anti-tank fires during the assault and provide extended range capability for engaging armor during both offense and defense. These systems have a moderate
I just asked people from our
capability
40s
against
as...
bunkers, buildings, and other fortified targets, commonly found
Or I'll ask for
during
Mike
combat
because I'm
in
a little shit.
urban areas. The TOW's bunker buster round is capable of destroying the majority of urban targets. Now, the FGM-148 Javelin is a fire and frigate shoulder-fired man-portable CCMS. It consists of a reusable M98A1 command launch unit, that little styrofoam thing you see on the side of it. Its primary role is to destroy enemy armored vehicles out to 2,000
From
meters.
top down.
Javelin can be employed in a secondary role of providing fire support against point targets such as bunkers, cruise servers.
So fun
weapon
fact I learned
positions.
about the
In
javelin,
addition,
its range
CLs
is
can be
actually
used as
map
known as a
dependent
aided
for
vision
some
device for
weird
reconnaissance
reason. So
security
some
operations
maps
surveillance
will limit it
due
to
to
1,500
its
meters,
ability
and then
to
some
go
will
thermal.
limit it out to like 3K.
When Bradley fighting vehicles are part
It's
of combined
weird.
armed teams.
All right, stand by, sir.
Yeah, that's.
All right. Actually, real quick comment about the javelin and the clue here. All right. So I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with how the javelin functions. We'll have to get to your question in a second, Private. So the way that it works for us is the clue is always
RHS.
attached to the tube. Normally they are separate, and whoever's operating the weapon system would attach it to a new tube for a rocket. That is not how we do things here. So don't freak out if you see a javelin gunner just popping down, spinning around with his the missile mounted on his shoulder. He could just be using the clue
for
for
thermal.
reconnaissance, using the thermal capabilities to look out. So just keep that in mind. That the clue in our case
I don't know the
is not
specific
separate
differences
from the
on that.
javelin missile tube. All right, Private Marston, question.
I was just wondering if either
Koi in chat,
I'm
I
stuck
actually
seeing
don't
the
know.
AT4
I
or
hope
if there's
not.
other slides I'm not seeing.
No, unfortunately we're
There's some
still
slides that don't have.
compiling some of those for the other weapon systems. So
Stuff.
yeah, you're not freaking out. You were still seeing the AT4. All right. Any questions about the javelin?
Hey,
Specific
Sergeant.
clue?
No, Sergeant.
All right. And actually, one more thing. There's a new SOP that we have regarding the javelin. If we take it out
So let's give him a warm welcome.
on the
shall we?
field, so the javelin gunner has an assistant. So to simulate the idea that the clue is separate and that the assistant would generally just carry another tube with him, the assistant will also carry a javelin missile system on their back and just hand that off if the gunner expends his first one. So that means if you're an assistant with a javelin, you're not allowed to use that clue at all. So you just have to have it on your back, and that's it. This is to simulate the idea that it's just a tube and not a clue attached to it. Any questions about that?
That's pretty funny.
No, sir.
No, Sergeant.
Excellent. Carry on, Sergeant.
Thank you, Sergeant. Now I'm gonna go over some grenades. See if we got any slides for those bad boys. We do. Alright, so this is the M67 fragmentation grenade. Is a fragmentation type grenade consisting of pre-fragmented steel body filled with 6.5 ounces of composite B explosive. It is intended to be used in an offensive capacity and has the killing radius of 15 meters and a fragmentation dispersal radius.
So they're gonna
of
tell us
230
not to
meters.
cook the grenades. Probably gonna cook my
Grenade
grenades
safety
still
is, of
here and
course,
there and get
important.
yelled at. Because I
Doesn't have
really
a
like
killing
throwing the
radius of 15
grenade up
meters
in the
doesn't mean
air
that
and
one
having a
shrapnel
bigger
can't hit you
explosive
all the way
radius
up
in the
to 230
compound.
meters. So be very wary of where you're
Risky,
throwing
but
and
if you
how
time
you're
it
throwing
right,
these
you can
grenades. They
kill
can
a
go
lot
through
more
certain
with it.
objects. So
That was a
eventually
Loot
you should
09
be able to learn how
tactic
to
back in the day
identify
because he
what
would
objects,
load compounds with shit.
these grenades
It's also a
can,
Barty
their
Lord
shrapnel can go
tactic.
through. Next is a more defensive option or less lethal option, which is the M84 flashbang.
White rain, because blue rains are
Diversionary
RHS,
device
and
used
those will
for
actually hurt
opening
you.
room clearing operations and is employed when non-combatants are likely or expected and the assaulting element
But they
is
only
attempting
work
to
when they
achieve
go off
surprise.
in the AI's cone of
When
fire.
the device explodes in a room, it delivers a loud bang combined with a bright flash, which
Also, I
will
use these to
temporarily
torture
blind
people.
and deafen the room occupants, as well as disordering them for at least 15 seconds, or as long as 15 seconds.
As that's why all the civilians you try to rescue die. Fucking blue rains.
Don't have a slide for that. I'm going to go over some of our smoke grenades. Use the M18 smoke grenade. There's a few different colors that we use. There is
White and yellow's concealment.
yellow, which is used for concealment.
They prefer
once again,
yellow,
we use
though.
yellow for concealment, not white, because normally the enemy will use white, and that just kind of tips us off to what their location is. Helps us differentiate between each other.
That's
So
why
once
they
again,
do
yellow
it.
is what we use for concealment.
Alright,
We
that's
have
fair.
green, which is used to mark friendly position
Friendly
or
positions.
landing
Red
zone.
is enemy.
Red, which is used to
Blue
mark
is
an
broken
enemy
chain
position.
of command. Purple's mask has. Only medics
Orange,
can carry
which is going to be
purple.
used by and carried
Orange
by
is to
team
mark
leaders only
explosives.
to indicate that there is
And I think all
a
other colors
explosive
are
in the
not
area or a
designated.
planted explosive in the area.
Yeah.
Blue, which indicates a break in the chain of command or lost
Well, yeah, all
comms,
smoke can be used for concealment, but different
which
colors
rarely
can
is ever
represent
used.
different
Normally, we
things.
just send out runners like World War II. and purple, which is used only by medics to mark mass cas or mass casualty area.
Blue simply means the enemies have our net. That's only
There
carried
are
by
two
command staff people.
categories which hand throwables are divided into. If you press
You'll
7
never
on
get
your
enough
keyboard,
smoke, I
you will
agree.
go into less lethal, and if you press 6 on your keyboard, you will go into the lethal. The lethal category contains
I don't
the
have those key
M67,
bindings because those are the key bindings on my
grenade,
mouse for my
and
radios.
the M84 flashbang. Although the flashbang technically non-lethal, it does still have a harming capacity. While
I like
the
the term
non-lethal
mass cas.
carries the M18 and M83 smoke grenades, colored chem lights, IR strobes, signaling devices, things of that nature. I'm gonna go over not this. That is all.
Yeah, I agree. Confirm.
Alright,
That's why I
thanks,
say, white
Thank
or
you.
yellow, because you can always
All right, a
loot
few
in
more
the
things to
field.
go over real quick. We're going to go over right now different smoke signals and the colors that they indicate. So first, with smoke, we have yellow and white smoke. This is used for concealment. The reason that we also use
Am I
yellow
having
smoke is
deja
that so
vu,
we
or
can
didn't we just
easily
go over this?
differentiate between friendly concealment positions and enemy concealment, because the enemy will be using white smoke the majority of the time. All right, but that you are clear to
I'm
use
just going
both.
over to clarify.
That is fine.
Really, what a mass
Next,
cas
we have
means
green smoke.
is
Green
the
smoke
one
is used
medic
to
responding
identify
to the
friendly
scene
positions.
needs assistance.
We usually pop green smoke when there is cas
So that's
coming
when you
in
call
that
a
is
mass
potentially
cas.
danger
It's not a
close,
mass cas
so that
if
the
that
air
one
assets
medic
can
can take care of
easily
everything.
identify
So
friendly
usually, like,
positions and
3
try
or
not to
more
hit them.
bodies is usually a mass cas.
Green is also used by our TACP element to mark landing zones. So it gets a little tricky in this case because usually when you see green smoke, when cast's coming in, you want to get to that green smoke and do not stray from it.
Yeah, don't go to the
when
red
there's green
smoke.
smoke on an LZ, you don't want to stand in the green smoke because that is where the helicopter is aiming to land. And I'll tell you this, if a fucking U-860 lands on your fucking head or a CH-47 lands on your fucking head, you're going to have a bad day. Next, we have red smoke. Red smoke is used to indicate an enemy position. We use red smoke usually. The Grenadier will carry red smoke 40 mics to mark enemy positions for forecasts. We also have handheld red smoke, but that is extremely dangerous. So since your throwing reach is not that far, if you have to throw red smoke on any position, you are too fucking close to it. So I recommend using the Grenadier red smoke whenever possible. And also, if by chance you happen to throw red smoke by accident, you need to call that shit up immediately. You need to get on the radio. It needs to go up and down the chain all the way to the top as soon as possible, so we can tell people to disregard that smoke. Just say, emergency traffic, the red smoke being used for concealment, disregard red smoke. Something like that, just to at least indicate to the air assets that that is not a potential target for them. Because once they see red smoke, their fucking eyes light up, and they're going to be calling dagger to get a fucking cast target. So make sure that is happening with the quickness. Next we have purple smoke. Purple smoke is what's used by the medics to indicate a mass casualty incident.
Throwing
Only medics
it
will
and it's a
carry
fucking
purple
main
smoke.
battle tank and you're in a little
Only
ditch
medics
by the
will
road and
designate
trying to
what
get it
an
marked,
MCI is or
a
isn't.
grenade's not going to do
So
shit
do not
to that
take it
tank's
upon
armor.
yourselves if you are not a billeted medic to say what is or is not a mass cas. Next we have blue smoke. Blue
confirm
smoke is not very frequently used, but
saying
it
the same
stands
thing
for
in
a
chat.
broken chain of command. So for some reason we have problems with the radios, something like that, and the HQ element goes down.
I will say blue smoke in other communities is
indicate
also used
that,
for
hey,
marking
command element is
landing
down.
zones.
You cannot reach them on the radio. Someone needs to step up and take charge.
And then other
and the
communities
medics
that do use
will
blue smoke
coordinate
for
how to
broken
get to that
chain.
position.
That's when the Zeus gets on the comms. and
Usually only
starts
platoon
fucking
HQ
with
and
stuff.
above will carry blue
Or
smoke.
when there's radio jamming scripts.
All right, that covers the smoke. Any questions about anything we've covered thus far today?
Native, sir.
No, Sergeant.
Excellent. All right. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to pass you off to Specialist Perrin. He's going to take you out to the grenade range. You guys are going to go over usage of fragmentation grenades, some pro words involved with that. then onto the AT range, and then effective usage of spotting and usage of the AT. And then you're going to go to the rifle range, go over some effective rates of fire and proper engagement techniques. So, specialists, take them away.
Thank you, Sergeant. All right, gentlemen, on your feet. Outside.
All right, who's ready to see Liru shoot a gun? Are we walking? Gotta get out of the building first, silly.
You okay, man?
He's putting his stuff back on.
Step this way, everybody out. Who just threw their helmet and glasses on the ground?
I did.
Not very useful right there, are they?
No, they're not.
All right, at this point, before the specialist forgets, make sure you put your earplugs in. You will be going onto a hot range. If you do not know how to do that, you will self-interact with left control windows, go to
The
equipment.
hotkey decided to
earplugs
throw them on the ground instead of on my face.
Follow me.
Oh god, Brewer's coming! No! Oh no! Well, at least he wasn't here to see that. That's good enough for me. I wonder if we're gonna get practice grenades.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes, specialist.
Yes, sir.
I'm specialist, but thanks
That's a
for promotion.
specialist.
All right, as Sergeant Cole went over, there are two types of grenades, lethal and less than lethal. First, we're going to start off with our less than lethals. So we have smoke grenades. Before you deploy a smoke grenade, so say that bunker back here in the southwestern corner, we want to blind the guy there with smoke. First, you're going to want to check your windage.
Shift
There's
K.
no point in throwing smoke if the wind's going to blow it right out of the way. So to check your windage, you're going to press the Shift K or kilo key up in the top left corner of your screen. Should give you an
so
arrow
your
and
smoke
a dot
goes to the left.
telling you how strong the wind is blowing and what direction the wind is blowing. So by looking at that, if you throw it to the left side
I
of
knew
the
he'd show up
bunker,
in
it's going to
chat.
blow right across the bunker. So to blind that bunker, I will put a grenade out. So you want
To the
throw
left.
it in said position. Smoke out. Now you're blinding him without throwing it too close to yourself, so you have plenty of room to run up and still be in cover. Now you have 3 pro words for your grenades. So like I just said, smoke out. You have grenade out.
Smoke
That
out,
is a friendly
frag out,
throwing a
or
grenade
flash
out
out.
of your position. When you hear that, you're going to want to get down, get into cover, because the grenade can hit you too.
All right, stand by, specialist.
Copy that.
So, just to clarify, what the specialist talking about here specifically refers to fragmentation or lethal grenades. So what happens when you're throwing an outbound frag, you're going to use the pro word frag out, and whenever you hear that, no matter who you are, if you hear somebody yell frag out, you're going to echo that command. All right, so if I yell frag out, what do you say?
Frag out.
Frag out, Sergeant.
Excellent. You make sure on yelling, yell that shit loud. All right, carry on, specialist.
Thank you, Sergeant. Another pro word is if you see a frag coming inbound, you're just going to yell frag and hit the dirt and continue yelling frag until it goes off. The third pro word is bad frag. If I throw through a tree and it hits a limb and comes back towards us, we're going to yell bad frag. Everybody's going to
brings
yell
back
bad frag and
memories.
get on the ground. Also, when you're throwing a grenade, you don't want to get hit with the grenade. We do have some sandbags here, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hit the ground and put your feet towards the grenade.
Yep.
So if it does get through whatever cover you have, it is not hitting you in the face.
Because that can
I'd
knock you
rather lose a foot
unconscious.
than lose my face. Everybody copying that?
Yes, specialist.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
He is a specialist.
That's
Stop calling him a
specialist.
sergeant.
I do like the promotions though, but yes, I am specialist.
Because Brewer's coming on. If we
your
make a mistake,
fragmentation
he's going to
grenades
start
do
barking.
have a 14-meter kill radius. So if you're looking to put the 2 guys straight in front of me in the big long bunker, put it over top of that bunker, but you don't have to put it right on top of the bunker.
I think he's back there.
Because it's got a kill radius, so you're going to
Maybe
want to
not.
try to get as many people with 1 grenade as possible. Or if you're clearing a room, you know there's a bad guy in that room, throw a frag in that room.
Heckman's here.
As long as you know there are no civilians in there,
He'll
toss a
bark
frag in
if
there,
you
it's
do it
pretty
right
well
as well.
Clear the whole
Thanks.
room. Then follow it up with immediate response as soon as the grenade goes off. Same with a flashbang. So if I want to kill the guy in the very back bunker,
Gonna want to lob a grenade.
follow my grenade, and we'll get my grenade ready.
Behind there.
You want to press the G button. So it shows you an arc. It shows you where the grenade's going to land if you throw it.
They
straight
have
up
us
with a little
toggle
green
G to
dot.
advanced
If
throwing,
it's bouncing off of something, it's going to give you a red dot.
though it won't show all the way
So
back
I'm going to
there.
throw the grenade to the very back bunker to kill that fellow back there. I'm going to pull the pin, throw the grenade. Grenade out. Everybody hits the ground.
Grenade out.
Everybody yells grenade out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back up and recover. Grenade was short. Out of my range. So we have to press farther if you want to use a grenade at that range. Everybody copying.
Roger, specialist.
Copy, specialist.
Yeah, specialist.
Sergeant, do we allow the
Private Darby, did you get hit by that?
Sergeant McCoy?
Yes.
Can't hear you, but to do the
Can you
private
hear me now?
stow? Yes, I can.
He was on whisper.
Do the private stow on this range?
Affirm.
Affirm. All right, let's one guy step up.
So, all right, everyone see these indents here in a line? Everyone pick a spot. We're going to start from my left, so that'll be Private Marston. So everyone pick a divot all the way down the line. I want you guys to use the proper pro words, so make sure you yell frag out and wait for a response before you throw the frag. He's going to throw it, you're going to hit the deck. Once it goes off, you will then recover, and then we'll move on. Private Liru. Everyone tracking.
Roger, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, range is hot.
Right, Sergeant.
What happened?
Marston, it's all you.
Am I hitting any certain targets, specialist?
Not us.
Anything on the other side of the sandbag?
Preferably
Roger that.
downrange.
So here, call it. Wait for them to call it back.
Frag out.
Frag
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Recover. All right, keep going.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Ah, I got the guy behind the bunker.
Right. Keep it going.
Private Duggan.
I'd cook it, but Brewer's
Frag
in
out.
chat and he's gonna yell
Frag
at me.
Frag out.
All right, make sure you're waiting to throw it until you hear a response of frag out. All right.
Roger,
Drum's
sir.
in chat too. Oh God. Tide Pod snorting. Drum, can we throw Tide Pods instead?
Frag out.
Frag out.
Oh,
That was a flash.
it was a flash. It's all right. Just make sure you're double checking.
They're
what
now
you have.
disoriented.
You're unsure. All right, let's keep it going.
That's Captain. I'm
Let's have
sorry.
Private Porter do that again and
But it
call you
doesn't
late,
say
Frag.
Captain
You're late.
Drumheller. It
Frag
says
out.
Jester
Frag
814.
All right. All right, slow it down, you guys. Make sure that we're all on the same fucking page here.
How to make the military look
Make sure
cool
we're
for
calling
young
that before we
kids.
throw it.
God damn it, ass.
All right, now let's just move on. Specials, we don't have time to.
All right, copy that.
Hey, at least this isn't like TSV's grenade range where they somehow found out how to cook off the grenade box and kill everybody with thermal grenades.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Let's give him a warm welcome, shall we?
I'm paying attention. Written half a page of notes. Don't worry.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Frag out.
Pin appears to be stuck, Sergeant.
All right.
He doesn't know how to
Pin is
advance
pulled.
throw.
Death grip, Sergeant.
Say again.
Got a death grip, Sergeant.
All right. Recover. Fine. All right, we'll figure that out afterwards. What seems to be the problem is just the arc not showing up or anything.
Roger, Sergeant.
All right, we'll figure that out afterwards.
That means his thing's not keyed properly.
All right. Figure out the AT range.
follow me.
Oh yeah, Hardman. I'd love to go on the LR and ask Soto to do just that.
All right, your AT sticks that you have on your shoulders, your AT4s, they're best used in a group of two. One person giving range, the other person firing. You put your AT4 on your shoulders. Don't do this yet. It will
Yeah,
appear
we
on
have
your
Vector
shoulder. You will
21s.
have to press the R Romeo key to get your sights out and ready. Once you've pressed the Romeo key, you'll have a very small peephole that you are looking through. You can press the backslash on your numbers lock to give you a wider angle, a wider view, but you're not going to be as accurate with it. And use your page up, page down to change your ranging on your weapon. So if I say 200 meters, you pull that out, it's going to say 100 meters. You're going to tap page up twice to go from 100 to 150 to 200. So you're hitting the correct range to hit your target. On 90% of these targets out here, minus the MBT that's right here in front of us, you're going to want to hit it in the side or in the back. You're not going to hit anything in the plates. The MBT, you're not even going to want to shoot at because it's just going to piss it off. So to range, you're going to want to get your vectors out. So press the B as in Bravo. Get your binos out. One moment.
Wait, it's RHS, which means T doesn't work. Maybe it's Control T.
Now you're going to want to use them like an optic in your rifle. You're going to put the crosshair on your target. You're going to tap the R button, hold down the R button, and it's going to give you the square. Let go of it. It's going to give you a little range right side in red numbers. So if we look at the MBT here in front of me, put it on the side of it.
6-2.
Tap the R, get the little red circle, let go of the R. It's going to be 56 meters.
Well, TSB, we normally use
thereabouts,
the
you're a little
NATO
bit farther away from where I
rangefinder.
am.
61 for me.
Correct.
61 meter for me.
Because we're a bit further back.
Now to get the bearing, you can get the bearing with your binos. You're going to press the tab button. On
Sexy.
the left-hand side, it's going to give you the bearing. So for bearing from my position is 273. So I can give you bearing and range without having to look at a compass or any of that. Now, if you're on an elevation looking down, then you're going to want to get an adjusted bearing. Weapons teams go by adjusted bearings. That's all they use. Get the adjusted bearing for range looking down slope. You're going to double tap the R on the second hit of the R. Hold it down until you get the little circle, and it will give you a different range. So for me here, it's 56 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, it's going to say -1 because it's 1 meter below my height. So it doesn't really matter on flat ground like this, but if you're on top of a big hill shooting down or shooting up, you're going to want the adjusted ranges. And then you can toggle your night vision on these. If it's dark, you just hit your in button, turns the night vision on inside of it.
Sure.
So if I were to sit right here, give you a range on a target, you should be able to pull your AT4, get the bearing and range, and fire. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up into 2 people teams. Every one of these little L's, I want 2 people.
All right, stand by, specialist.
Oh, copy that.
All right, before we get into firing these fucking things off, I want to make sure we go over the proper protocol and usage of this weapon and how the spotter is supposed to function with them. So, specialist told you how to properly use those vectors to acquire the range and bearing of a target. So the way this is going to work, usually the grenadier will be the battle buddy of the rifleman. Their job is going to be that of the spotter. So, what happens, an armor piece rolls up. Grenadier is going to acquire the bearing and range. They're going to call it out while the other person preps their AT. So do not do this now, but to pull out your AT, you'll press 3 on your number row, and like the specialist said, Romeo to release the safety, and then adjust accordingly. So, spotter will call out the target information. If possible, the weapon operator needs to read back that information to confirm it is correct. So they're going to call out the distance, direction, and description of the target. You know, the 3 Ds of a basic contact report. So in this case, so we see that BMP way in the back there. So we have enemy armor, bearing 263, range 118, at least from my position. At that point, the gunner will read back, you know, armor 238, 118 meters. At that point, they will set their 0 on the optic of the AT4. Then they're going to not request, but they are going to order a clear backblast. So that means that the spotter needs to look behind the firing position to ensure that no one is standing in the backblast arc of that weapon. This part is very important. If people are there, you do not fire. And again, if someone is there, you're going to echo that order again. You're going to say again, clear backblast. Should probably sound a little more pissed off this time. This is not a request. This is an order. If after
Hartman,
the second
how's that
time
100
that person has
magazine
not
coming
cleared
for
your
the rocket
backblast,
launcher?
you're clear to fire that weapon. We need to take out that armor. We'll deal with that afterwards. But do your best to make sure it's clear. I don't care who's behind you. If they don't move after the second time, you need to fire that weapon. All right, so make sure you clear your backblast. The spotter will call backblast clear. Then prior to firing the rocket, the gunner will say rocket, 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 fire the weapon. Then at that point, the spotter is to give a BDA once they have it. It stands for Battle Damage Assessment, on how badly the enemy vehicle is destroyed or just damaged, whatever. 100 over 100 is the vehicle is catastrophic or completely destroyed.
Lord, it'll stay
You
in
have to
for
use
6
common
months.
sense to
I might
differentiate-
post it.
to differentiate
Depends
the
if Brewer
numbers
lets
in
me.
between that.
I know I can't do day
So,
4 though.
At that point, once the rocket is expended, you're going to pull out your main weapon system. You pull out your M4. You're going to drop the tube on the ground and be prepared to engage any dismounts from that vehicle. All right. Any questions on the process, how this works?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
All right. So now the specialist said, let's see how many we got here. 2, 4, so we had 7. All right. So split up in 2-man teams. Specialists want you to spot with the odd man out. So get two per booth here. Give you about 5 minutes to fire off some AT, then we'll move on.
All right. Party them separate. All right, Private. I'll be your spotter.
Okay.
Right.
Move over, PV1 or Sura.
Yeah, sure.
Have a BTR. Bearing 264. Range 117.
But you want to spot first or shoot
Roger.
first?
I'll spot for you.
Okay.
Can you say that range again?
Alright, Johnson.
117.
Alright, bearing 277.
Alright, clear backblast.
72
Backblast is clear.
Enemy
Alright.
Humvee out in the open.
Rocket, rocket, rocket.
Enemy.
Range is
That went over.
That was a little high.
Johnson,
Yep.
do you hear me?
Use your weapon out. BDA is 0
Alright.
over 100.
What do you
No
want me to do?
dismounts.
Bearing,
I always fuck up the first shot.
bearing is 277.
Bearing 277 in range.
You grab another rocket
Always
from the
fuck
box.
up
Try
the
to
You
first shot.
shooting or are you
Bearing
spotting?
267.
watch out for backblasts.
BMP
Yep.
277, 72 meters.
With a range of
Good
Enemy
backblast.
Humvee.
Okay.
Humvee.
Humvee on the right.
This
Alright,
reminds me of the
Good backblast.
I got
Backblast
a
clear.
BTR.
Rocket.
100
Backblast wasn't clear. I was trying to see who had it.
Good hit. Vehicle
200.
disabled.
75.
Crossing behind, crossing behind.
Roger. Your turn.
Alright.
Oh, God, I've only done it 2 times.
And
Go to the
Private Dogan,
BMP.
It's a
117
zero.
BMP.
Yep.
Alright.
Plugs in. Reloading.
Hey, firm.
117 BMP.
Alright, enemy BMP.
Wait, say again. 117.
131
Yes,
meters.
that's what I gave you a minute ago.
Meters.
Gave you the wrong target.
Bearing 264.
I'm looking at your back
On
blast.
bearing?
Bearing,
Yep.
Bearing 264, 98
Bearing
meters.
276.
Bearing 264. 98 meters. Enemy BMP.
Can you give a
That's
the
correct.
proper bearing then?
Alright,
Backblast
it's
clear.
gonna be.
It was the
Backblast
bearing, I
clear.
just gave you the wrong type.
Rocket, rocket, rocket.
Clear backblast.
Wait, so state the bearing again.
The bearing is
Johnson, what are you waiting on?
263.
263, roger.
Range
Clear back,
116.
No dismounts.
Back blast is clear.
260 and staying in range.
All right, clear back blast.
Back blast clear.
Rocket.
Somebody's bleeding.
Rocket, rocket.
It's firing it.
You are over.
Not too high.
It's gonna be bearing 268.
What?
Got a piece of some backblast, did you?
And it's
If
gonna
I
be
want to patch your leg real quick.
Turn
Yep.
around, turn around, Private.
You're bleeding.
Face down range, Private Zero.
Thank you.
And stand by. I don't have a
interesting.
scope on this at
Go
all.
ahead and spot for me.
Press
Yeah,
run.
yeah, go ahead.
Gonna go get a third.
How's your
So
pain?
now
I'm
you know
alright,
how
I'm alright.
wide that backblast is. You gotta make sure you're
Crossing
on
behind.
line with the person firing it. You don't want to be behind them
sir.
at all. Alright?
Good lesson.
Yeah,
BMP.
I was pretty far left of you, and I still caught that
131
backblast.
bearing
Liru being a dingus. Yeah,
276.
sounds about right.
You're
I
ready
was
to fire.
standing over in the left sandbag, and I caught that.
Scene.
Yeah, Private Darby, can you say again, bearing in range?
Bearing
You want another one?
268.
Yeah, I'll take another one.
Back blast.
Alright.
2.
And the range is.
Captain is yelling at me in chat.
EAZ.
Roger, UAZ.
Bearing
Direct hit,
268,
direct
clear
hit.
back blast.
219. Or 291, sorry, 291.
291, Roger.
Range 75 meters.
Clear back blast.
Roger, clear back blast.
Private Johnson,
Backblast
Private Marston.
clear.
Rocket, rocket, rocket.
Rocket, rocket.
I had
Good hit.
See where Sergeant
Say
Steele
again,
is?
Sergeant.
I went up.
Turn
I
around
had
right now.
mine up.
See where Sergeant Steele is?
Damage over
Mine
speed
went over.
That is
Yes.
within the backblast
BDA.
range, so Private Johnson, you gotta make sure you check that
Roger.
backblast better in the future. Alright, so make sure you're looking around both sides. It's got a very wide
Private Dogan, you're
fucking
bleeding.
spray of backblast, so even when
Who's gonna do
right
AT
here,
training
So,
TSB
give
now?
him a warm welcome,
so
shall
do
we?
you, apparently.
This side.
So, don't move.
I'm bandaging your left leg.
Third
Sergeant,
time's the
that's
charm.
private.
BDA just
There you
calls
go.
for the effect
Alright,
on
you're good.
target. If it's still
Alright.
alive, it's
Sorry, speaker.
dismounted. What's
Still
it
got
doing?
any rockets left? Alright.
Thanks.
And Private Johnson, I was just gonna mention, make sure to drop that tube after you spend it.
Okay.
You're just carrying around
You
extra
want
weight
me
at that point.
to go again, sir?
No.
Oh, okay,
Ceasefire, ceasefire. Rally up.
Well, now that I've made myself officially look stupid,
Alright. So, pretty good work. I think you guys are doing pretty well so far. Next, we're going to move on to the rifle range. Going to go over some effective rates of fire. So, I'm going to take you through that. And then we'll finish up tonight with movement formations. First Sergeant will cover that. So, gentlemen, follow me to the rifle range.
I've been informed by others that Yander is the only AT master, and I'll only get to his level when I blue on blue a friendly Apache with a Maz. As a meme. Oh yeah, of course. It's when senior management watches, you know, we claim we get nervous, and from there, just it all falls apart, right? Top cack.
Alright, so follow me up to the sandbags. Give me 1 sec.
That's formations over there.
Alright, so, as I said, right now we're going to go over effective usage and firing rates of our primary weapon systems, starting with the M4. So, as a light infantry unit, and especially an air assault unit, our job is to get dropped in, usually behind enemy lines. We're usually the tip of the spear as conventional infantry. That means if we get a resupply in the field, we are fucking lucky as hell. So, most of the time, we have to go into an operation with only what we can carry on our person and our gear. That means we have a very limited amount of ammunition. So, we're going to go over some rates of fire, which will help us not only be more combat effective for longer, so this is, we talked about the 5 basic soldiering skills, sustaining
Heckman's fucking with
our
you.
time in the field,
He knows what the
which will also help us
15
survive
is.
longer. Alright? So, we're going to start
Stop
with
it,
the M4.
Heckman.
The first rate of fire is sustained or effective. This is one shot every 3 to 5 seconds. Basically, it's used for targets up to your point target range, 500 meters. So between 400 and 500 meters. And you're just going to fire one shot, take your time to reacquire the target, fire again. And if you think about this in the context of a rifle squad, so minus the 2 ARs, you have 6 other M4s just in the fire team. So if a whole squad is doing sustained effective fire, that's still a shit ton of fucking lead going down range. Am I right?
Yes, Sergeant.
Excellent.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, so at this time, I'm going to demonstrate what it sounds like. So, you know, when you're firing it, you'll hear what sustained effective fire should sound like. So, range is hot. All right, so that's sustained effective. Next, we have rapid fire. Rapid fire, you're literally doubling this. You're going to stay in the semi-automatic firing mode. You're just going to double tap the weapon system with the same gap in between. So you're going to do a double tap shot every 3 to 5 seconds. This is used for targets that are closer than 400 meters, so between 3 and 400 meters. You'll notice that the rates of fire increase as the threat becomes larger to a closer range. So this is what rapid fire sounds like. All right, and next and last we have cyclic rate of fire. So this is the highest rate of fire we have. So for this, you're going to switch it on fully automatic, and it's a 3 to 5 round controlled burst every 3 to 5 seconds. So this is the highest rate of fire we have. Keep in mind that I said controlled burst. So this is when targets are closer than 200 meters. We still need to make sure we're accurately engaging and conserving ammo, which is why we don't just fucking let her rip. You're going to chew through ammunition like crazy if you just fucking spray and pray on full auto. We cannot do that. So this is what cyclic rate of fire sounds like. Reloading. And every time your magazine is dry, make sure you call reloading to signify to the other weapon systems around you that they may need to increase their rate of fire to compensate. All right, any questions about the rate of fire for the M4?
Yeah, no, the first burst would sound like a double tap.
No,
Sergeant.
Okay. So next, the other weapon system rifle squad, the M249. So the same concept applies, but obviously that weapon system only fires in the fully automatic selection. So that being said, it's a little bit different. So sustained effective rate of fire with the M249 is going to be a 3 to 5 round controlled burst every 5 to 7 seconds, or even a little longer. So you're still having a gap between it, but you can only fire in bursts. Never, ever, ever fire the M249 as a single shot weapon. That is not the intent. It is an area suppression weapon.
I still do that
Doesn't
once in
mean
a while.
Don't aim for targets. You know, shoot to kill, obviously, but its primary role is that of a suppression weapon.
Let's give him a warm welcome, shall we?
Always 3 to 5 round bursts. Sustained effective. Next, rapid fire, you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to double that. So you're going to do a 5 to 7 round burst every 5 to 7 seconds. All right, so you're just literally doubling that rate of fire. And lastly, cyclic. As we can see, the trend that this is going, the way I like to think of that is you can either do 2 rapid fire bursts at a closer, you can just reduce the amount of time between the bursts, or you could do multiple sustained effective bursts with the less amount of time as well. So that's 2 different ways to accomplish that. Private Sierra, question?
Thank you, sir. What is the ratio of tracer to normal rounds for the 249 that the 506 uses?
It's every 5 rounds.
Roger, Sergeant.
For your M4, there are a couple different magazines as well you can select. I believe the M Mark 318.
I don't know, Brewer's in the chat. Is Angry
reload
First Sergeant
tracers,
noises
so
gonna
the last
happen?
5 rounds of that magazine will be reload tracers, and the Stanag M855A1s, those have tracers every 5 rounds. So there's a difference in there too. But the standard belts for the 249, I believe, have tracers every 3 to 5 rounds.
Roger, Sergeant.
I will double check that, but I'm pretty certain that's the number.
I believe it's 3 to 5, Sergeant, for standard.
All right, Roger. Yeah, it should be around that. Okay.
Mal is right. It's usually 4 bullets, 1 tracer.
And that is if you're using the mixed tracer belt, which you should be, or soft pack. Okay. So, any other questions this time?
Negative, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
All right, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to go ahead and fire off some rounds, practice these effective ranges real quick, and then we're going to move on to formations, and we'll wrap this up. So pick a spot, have at it.
Reloading.
Is the range hot, Sergeant?
A-firm, range is hot.
Alright. That's about 400 meters. We're not going full auto. Mag.
Reloading.
I mean, yeah, like, that was sustained, rapid, and cyclic back in the day. You got mortared by the first sergeant because you popped red by mistake? We're not doing auto. I'm gonna get yelled at, alright? And the fucking captain and the first sergeant are in the stream. I don't want to get yelled at. I'm not gonna lie, for cyclic, I'd rather keep it on single shot because that gives you more control over the bullets.
Reloading.
Because I have to count how many bullets are expended so you know how much, so you don't go in a building and hear click click and then the Taliban guy laughs at you like that. Mag. But yeah. Easy enough, right? They didn't go over this, but the little lines next to that 4 and 6 represent 18 inches shoulder to shoulder, and what that represents is if you see that 400 target back there, it fits perfectly within that 4, so that means that target is 400 meters away, so to aim for the head, you would basically line that up. Now, it would be a lot better if I didn't miss that shot for my demonstration, but it's essentially what it means. I'm not accounting for wind, that's why. So that's a little built-in rangefinder, similar to what we teach in TSB. With the Maz Mark 0 and the RPG. It was 19 inches, motherfucker! Chat lied to me. I knew it was 19.
Reloading.
Damn it, chat. I trusted you. Stop coming in with the roast. Confirming I'm gonna hurt you. You're the one that told me 18. Couldn't remember. I thought it was 19. You told me it was 18. God damn it. Well, so it's
Ceasefire.
it's next to the forest. What 400 meters? It's that line.
Your weapons. Safety's on. Mags out.
Do.
Ceasefire.
Well, someone didn't do that, right?
I'm on a laptop, Sergeant.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Ceasefire. Condition 4.
Why did you just put that back in your fucking thing?
Safety on. Left control. Foxtrot. And gave us your safety.
Sergeant.
Send it.
It's because I picked up the mag and he auto-loaded it.
All right. Bring it in.
I like to pretend to trust some of you people.
All right, one last thing I actually forgot to go over here.
Yes, average
is
width
the
of
idea- the
military,
concept of
male
talking
age,
guns.
shoulders, blah, blah, blah.
This is usually used within the weapons squad, so the M240 Bravo machine gunners will use this tactic. So talking guns is when one machine gunner fires, like a call and answer. So one 240 will fire a burst, and once it stops, the other 240 will pick up and fire its burst. This will go back and forth, so the concept of talking guns, the guns are talking back and forth to each other. The way that it works is when, and it can also be done with 249s as well. So it just takes some coordination between the gunners to figure this out. So the way it works is one gun will fire, the other gun will fire on the caps. Then when one gun runs out of ammunition, they're going to call reloading. Then the other gun needs to increase their rate of fire to compensate while the other gun is reloading. Then once the other gun is up, usually the second gun will also need to reload, so they will come back with the increased rate of fire while the second weapon reloads, and then they will resume the talking guns. Any questions about talking guns?
No, Sergeant.
No, Sergeant.
All right. All right, at this point, I'm going to hand you off to the first sergeant, who's going to take you through movement formations. So head down there, rally on the first sergeant.
Well, we all know what this means. He's gonna yell at us. He's tabbing in. We got him with his pants down, boys.
All right. Everybody feel like they have a basic understanding of the rates of fire that we use here.
Right, first sergeant.
Yes, First Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right, I'm going to go over one quick thing with you guys to kind of go in a little bit more detail, and that is the usage of talking guns, basically. All right. When we talk about the machine guns and the sustained rate of fire, all right, the 3 to 5 round burst. Sergeant McCoy, did you teach them the phrase for sustained rate of fire with machine gun?
Motherfucker, die.
Negative, First Sergeant.
All right. The phrase I want you guys to memorize. The phrase is die, motherfucker, die. Say that phrase in that same cadence while you're holding the trigger. It's going to give you a roughly 3 to 5 round burst. Very simple. You want a rapid rate of fire, you just double it. All right. Say that phrase in your head, that'll give you a 3 to 5 round burst. Make sure you say it in your head, because if you say it out loud while you're firing a machine gun, you look like a fucking psycho. So keep it in your head.
But I am a psycho.
Now, when you're doing talking guns, what Sergeant was referring to in terms of one gun firing, one gun answering, all right, you do your 3 to 5 round burst. While you're in that 2 to 3 second pause from your burst, the other gun is going to fire.
I say it under
so
my
it's
breath.
call and response back and forth between the two guns. So obviously, if the two machine guns, whether it be a 240 or a 249, if they're both maintaining a sustained rate of fire, collectively they're maintaining what? It's the part where when you speak the fuck up and answer me.
Sustained fire, First Sergeant.
So you think two guns maintaining sustained rate of fire equal a sustained rate of fire? What is double a sustained rate of fire?
Rapid fire, First
Let's,
Sergeant.
let's give him a
There
warm
we go.
welcome, shall we?
Rapid fire.
I'm
You'll get it
trying to
right
let
eventually.
others speak, because I'm...
So two guns at a sustained rate of fire, you get a rapid rate of fire. All right?
Let's give him a warm
Now,
welcome, shall
one
we?
gun, or really both guns, are eventually going to run dry, but obviously the guy that started out, he's going to run dry first. Depending upon where he's at in his belt, so on and so forth, might be earlier, might be later. But basically, what you want to keep in mind is if you're on that gun that runs empty, you want to call out, especially then that you're reloading, so that that other gun can pick up his rate of fire while you get your new belt in. Once your new belt's in, say gun up. That lets him know my gun is back up and running. You're going to pretty much immediately fall into a rapid rate of fire because as soon as your gun is up, that other gunner is going to start reloading his weapon. Once his gun is up, he'll call gun up, and then you'll both drop back into a sustained rate of fire. All right, so at all times, you're maintaining a rapid rate of fire. Now, in reality, in Arma, very, very fucking rare that we have an engagement which requires that much firepower from two individual weapon systems. The thing you have to keep in mind is when we go out into an operation, the amount of weapon systems that we have, even just in one rifle squad, you're talking 8 M4s and 2 saws. Okay, if you have those 10 weapon systems engaging any element, that's a lot of fucking firepower going down range. So even if all 10 of those weapon systems are maintaining a sustained rate of fire, that's 8 rounds every 2 seconds from the M4s and another 10 rounds every 2 seconds from the saws. That's a lot of lead flying down range. So keep that in mind when you're engaging a target, whether it's a individual target, fire team, squad size element, whatever. Keep in mind the amount of firepower that is being put on that target by your collective element. Okay, so even if a target is close enough to justify a rapid rate of fire in the M4, if you have 5 rifles engaging that individual target, do you really need to maintain a sustained or a rapid rate of fire when you have that many rifles engaging? Probably not. All right, everybody tracking on that?
Yes, First Sergeant.
Yes, First Sergeant.
All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to head over to the formation range to take you guys through the most commonly used formations here. All right, follow me.
My character is dehydrated. He hit a wall. Newer Arma 4 isn't going to come out till like 2022 minimum.
All right, go ahead and move yourselves up there along the edge where you can see out there down on the field. I want you guys to look off to roughly your 10 o'clock. You're going to see a little red Connex box out there. Everybody see that little red box?
Yes,
Yes, First Sergeant.
All right. That little red box is going to denote what formation we are currently talking about. So it's going to be moving around this field as we move on to the different formations. So the first formation we're going to go over, right there, is going to be the fire team file. So we're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each one of these formations, who goes where, so on and so forth. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is spacing. So what you're seeing demonstrated here and with all of these formations, this is basically your minimum spacing, but you have to keep in mind that your spacing, all right, which one of you mouth-breathing motherfuckers is inside my goddamn eardrums right now?
Private Johnson, you're hot micing.
What the fuck? Private Johnson, you need to fix
All right,
some
Sergeant
shit with
McCoy, head down to
quickness.
classroom 2, get Darth Vader sorted the fuck out before I lose my shit. All right, so spacing. All right, fire team file. Just like, as I said, with any of these formations, the spacing you're seeing here is the absolute minimum. But the spacing, more so than anything else, is going to be dictated by your terrain. Right? But the general rule of thumb, really, that you want to follow is that you want to maintain visual contact with all members of your element at all times. Okay, so what that means is if you're in the rear, you want to be able to see the point man. If you're the point man, you want to be able to look back and see the guy in the rear. So that's why it's going to be dictated by your terrain. If you're in a large open field, then you can increase your spacing a lot. Obviously, you have better sight lines. You can increase that spacing, lessening the threat of any type of IDF, HE, whether it be grenades, so on. All right, so you'll increase that spacing. If you're in a dense forest where you have closer sight lines, you're going to close that spacing in. If you're in an urban environment especially, you're going to close that spacing way in for 2 reasons. One, you have poorer sight lines. but 2, you have much more threat areas many more threat areas that you need to cover, right? More angles that you have to have a rifle pointed at, basically. So especially in an urban environment, you're going to close it in tight with your element. I don't mean you're going to fucking crawl up the ass of the other team in your squad or a team from another squad or whatever, but your element specifically, your fire team, are going to close their spacing way in so that you can cover everybody's different angles and so on. So you're not leaving something open to chance, basically. So that is one thing that I want to stress to you guys that people often misunderstand. When you're in an urban environment, all right, that's a situation where you're not going to hear someone like myself telling you you're stacked too close to your fucking buddy, all right? That doesn't exist in an urban environment. If you could crawl onto his fucking back, then I'd tell you to do so if it was safe and comfortable. Keep it in as close as you possibly can. Yes, grenades are still a risk, but HE is less of a risk than an open sight line. So pack it in fucking tight with your team members. Now, in terms of makeup, who goes where in this formation?
Shall we?
Generally, team leader is going to be on point. AR is going to be number 2. Grenadier is number 3. And then the last man out back is going to be the rifleman. Now, that's generally, okay? This goes for all of these fucking formations. Whoever is best suited for that role, they do that fucking job. Okay, if your AR is the best goddamn point man in the entire team, then put that sumbitch on point. I don't care if the team leader is supposed to be on point. If he's a fucking idiot when it comes to land nav, then he ain't going on point. Granted, he shouldn't be the team leader, but still. Whoever is best suited for that role does that job. All right, if you guys are told to move east and your rifleman is the easternmost element in your team, make that motherfucker the point man. Just get moving. He's the best suited for that role at that time.
Now.
All right, does everybody understand so far?
First sergeant.
Yes, for sergeant.
All right. Now, next thing, strengths and weaknesses. All right. Biggest strength of the fire team file is its rate of movement. We're able to move very, very quickly in the fire team file for obvious fucking reasons. You just follow the guy in front of you. Pretty damn difficult to move slowly when you're just trucking behind a guy. Has very good security to the flanks. But the left and right flank, at any point in time, if this thing gets engaged from the left or right, multiple rifles can turn and engage. However, it has very poor security to the front and to the rear. All right, anybody have any guesses as to why it has poor security to the front and to the rear?
Because there's a risk of firing at teammates. For certain.
There you go. All right, you got one guy front, one guy rear. Now, in a short halt situation, which we'll go over more tomorrow, but basically in a short halt situation, you're going to maintain your formation. In a short halt, that's where you're going to see basically how they are now. They're going to stop, maintain their formation, looking the directions that they're looking. Last man's going to turn around and cover direct rear. But in a short halt, if this formation was engaged from the front of the rear, 2 and 3 could stand up and fire over top of 1 and 4, but it's still pretty fucking risky. Right? Now, short halt is the only time you're going to see that last man spun around like that. You're not going to run backwards through the fucking forest. That's how you end up tripping and fucking come home with a TBI because you were a dumbass trying to run backwards through a forest. That last man is just turning his head back every so often, looking over his shoulder, making sure nothing's crawling up your ass. When you short halt and you're maintaining formation, then he'll do a full spin and cover the rear. Otherwise, he's maintaining opposite of number 3. So as you guys are traveling, point man is responsible for front 180. Number 2 is going to be covering either his 2 o'clock or his 10 o'clock, so either right or left. What you see here, he's covering 2 o'clock. So that means number 3 is going to be opposite, 10 o'clock. Last man is going to be opposite of him, 2 o'clock. All right, everybody tracking so far?
Roger, for sergeant.
Yes, for sergeant.
All right, anybody got any questions on the fire team file?
No, for sergeant.
No, for sergeant.
No, for sergeant.
No. Outstanding, moving on. Next, we have the fire team wedge. I'll tell you guys, this is the most commonly used fire team formation. First, let's go over who's generally where in this formation. So up on point, we have the team leader.
Lomanos.
On his strong side, generally going to be the AR, and then the rifleman. And on the weak side is going to be the grenadier. Now, as I said earlier, right, formations, you need to be fucking fluid. So, as you're moving, if you need to fucking swap guys around in positions for whatever reason, then fucking do it. But generally, AR and rifleman go on the strong side, grenadier goes on the left side. Team leader is up on point. Now, the reason that this formation is most commonly used is because of its strengths. It has the best security
Line of
both to the
coke.
front, the rear, and to the left and right flank. So it has the best all-around security. So why would this be the most commonly used formation for us? Because we know every single time that we go out on patrol, we are going to get in a gunfight. Every time. That's why we do this. We are always going to be in combat. So we are automatically going to favor formations that have higher security level. So that means we're going to pretty much default to things like a wedge because it has better all-around security than the file. If we need to move quickly through a low-threat environment, then we can go into a file and haul ass.
Oh, man.
But it's not all that common that we're moving through a low-threat environment. So we're predominantly going to move into a wedge and go from there. All right, any questions on the fire team wedge?
No, First Sergeant.
All right, moving on to the first of our squad formations. Here we have a squad file. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, a file is a vertical formation, okay? A line is a horizontal formation. So when you hear somebody say a line, they're not talking about a straight single file line like you're traditionally used to from, you know, your fucking school days lining up to go out to recess. File is vertical, line is horizontal. All right, another way you'll hear a vertical formation referred to as a column. Right, that's actually in the name of this formation, but we just cut it down to a squad file to make it simple for you. So in a squad file, it's the exact same as a fire team file for us, but there's 6 more people. That is the only difference because you have the addition of the squad leader, the squad medic, and the other fire team in your squad. Right, but it has all the exact same strengths, weaknesses, uses, so on. So low threat environment, the squad needs to move quick, they'll drop into this file and haul ass. All right, any questions on the squad file?
No, First Sergeant.
No, Sarge.
All right, moving on. Next, we have a squad column. Remember, column is a vertical formation. Right? This is obviously a vertical formation. Now, what you're going to see here is you have a team up front, which is generally going to be referred to as the point team or point element. They are in a strong right wedge. And you have the squad leader and the medic back here in the center, and then you have a trailing team. Now, the trailing team you see here is in a diamond. More often than not, a diamond is not going to be used too much by us, with exception to if we need to escort some type of HVI or something like that. If we're pulling a HVI back to company to get extracted or something like that, then we'll snatch the guy up, put him in the middle of the diamond at the rear, and start moving him. More often than not, though, that trailing team is going to be in a mirrored wedge. So if that point team is in a strong right, then the trailing team will be in a strong left, just to offset the firepower of the squad.
This
Are you
is
guys tracking
Altus
so
in
far?
Salt Lake.
Yes, First Sergeant.
Yes, First Sergeant.
All right. Now, one of the reasons that the squad
Take care.
column is used pretty much always in reality by our squads is A, has much better fucking overall security as opposed to the file, but B, it also allows us to practice a technique known as traveling overwatch. All right. Any of you guys ever heard that term before, traveling overwatch?
Yes, First Sergeant.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So for those of you guys that haven't heard of it, well, even for those of you guys that have, we're still going to go over how it works here. So in traveling overwatch, the spacing that you see here is just for demonstration purposes and so that you guys can see the entire squad in one area. But when we're in this formation, we're going to use traveling overwatch, which means this point element out here, they're going to push 50 to 75 meters out in front of the squad leader and the medic here. So they'd push another 30, 40 meters out ahead of where they are now. Now, the reason for that, so that while this formation is traveling, should they be engaged from the front, that point element can open up that wedge into
And
what
then
we
the
call a
rear
skirmish
element
line,
can
basically a
flank
nice
around.
horizontal line, basically hold shoulder to shoulder, and set up a support by fire position. So they're the first guys engaged. They open up, create a skirmish line, start returning fire on the enemy in an attempt to achieve overwhelming firepower to fix the enemy in their position. Once they have done that, then the trailing element back here, they're far enough back that they're not directly engaged by whatever's engaging the point element. That's the point of having that 50 to 75 meter spacing. So that trailing element can now come out from behind that support by fire position and flank the enemy, either left or right, whichever, push through their position while the support position or support element lifts and shifts fire left or right, depending upon what direction they're coming from. Are you guys tracking on how that works?
All right, First Sergeant.
Yes, First Sergeant.
All right. Now, it works the exact same way in reverse. If that trailing element were engaged from the rear, they would simply flatten out that diamond or, wedge, whatever it is they're running in back there, create a support position, and then the point element would just swing out from behind them.
Dare say it's
Works the
cocaine.
exact same way. Now, if this formation was engaged from a flank, then they could fall into the next formation we're going to go over, which is off to the right there. A squad line. Squad line is anything but a straight horizontal line. Right? Squad line is going to consist of 2 mirrored fire team wedges. You have a strong right wedge and a strong left wedge. Very simple. All right, this is a formation you're going to use when you expect or there is enemy contact to the direct front. Fall into this formation. You're still able to move in this formation. So this isn't a, hey, we're setting up a support position. We're going to maintain right here. This is, we're still moving. Right? So if you're moving through an enemy position, if you were the maneuver element as a rifle squad and you had a weapons element as in a support position, you'd flank out from around behind them, fall into this formation and push through the enemy position in a wave. Or if you didn't have a element to support you basically and you had to assault through, say, an ambush position, then you would fall into this formation and just move forward and basically keep pushing them forward as you move. Now, the biggest difference with the wedge in a squad line as opposed to your normal traditional fire team wedge is that sometimes the squad leader will call for the ARs to go on the weak side. Right? The reason for that being, in this formation, if you put the AR on the weak side, that's going to be on the left and right shoulder of the squad lead, as he's right there in the middle. You would do that to concentrate your firepower right in the center of your formation, because again, if you're going into this formation, you expect contact to the direct front. So you want your heaviest weapon systems concentrated right in the center, and the squad leader has direct command and control of those weapon systems. So if he wants to lay out suppressing fire on an entire position, he can go right to those 2 ARs and say, hey, I want you to dump rounds here and here, go. And they're right next to each other so that they can do talking guns. Right? Any questions on the squad line?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to our final formation, all the way down there at the end. If you guys need to move down there to see it better, go ahead and do so. Well, this last formation is a staggered column. Remember, column is vertical. It's a staggered
It's one
column.
of the 2 TSB actually uses.
Pretty much only going to be used
wedges.
to move along roadways, walking along the edge of the road, what we call walking the rails. Now, staggered column has some benefits in the sense that you can move fairly quickly, but it also has the weakness of the fact that you have a high risk of enfilading fire. Okay, enfilading fire is basically someone being able to fire down your ranks or down your formation. So for an easy visualization, think of dominoes. Right? When you hit that first domino and they all start falling, that's enfilading fire. Right? So if you were to line up a column on either side of the road and you're directly across from each other, now you have a risk of enfilading fire both from the front, the rear, and the sides. So that's why you're going to offset or stagger the column. It doesn't completely eliminate the threat of enfilading fire because obviously that risk is still there from the front and the rear, but it at least alleviates some of the threat from flank enfilading fire. All right, everybody understanding that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, one thing to point out here, especially with this formation, this is a movement formation, not a maneuver formation. And you'll go over a little bit more in terms of the differences between movement and maneuver on day 2. But very, very fucking simply, movement is when you're not in contact. Maneuver is when you're in contact. All right, so if bullets start flying, you're no longer moving, you're maneuvering. So that means if you're in this formation, if you're in this stagger column moving along a road and bullets start flying, and that first bullet has been fired, and you're still in this formation, you're fucking doing it wrong. That bullet or that round goes off the first time, you better get the fuck out of this formation. Because if you maintain a staggered column, all you're doing is making the enemy's job easier for them. You're just lining yourselves up to be knocked down like dominoes. So as soon as those shots start ringing out, spread the fuck out. Get out of that formation. Drop into a wedge, line, whatever you need to, but get out of that formation. Is everybody clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Sergeant.
All right. Now, as I said, this formation is generally going to be used when we're moving along roadways and so on. One of the biggest instances in which we're going to be using this formation especially is when we're going to be escorting one of our gun trucks. All right, if we're doing mounted operations with the gun trucks out there with us, before we head into a hostile area, we will stop the vehicles short, preferably in fucking defilade where they can't see us. Dismount all non-essential personnel, which means everybody but the driver and the gunner. We'll push out a security element in front of the vehicle, security element behind the vehicle, and then we will walk the trucks into town or whatever the fuck the area is. So that's what you're looking at here. If you were to imagine that red box is one of our gun trucks, you got 6 guys out in front, 2 guys in the rear as rear security. And then they would slowly walk the vehicle into town. Now, you may wonder, why in the fuck would we take everybody out of the armored vehicle and put them on foot? Fairly simple, okay? Our gun trucks hold 10 personnel, 1 full squad. If we leave those trucks loaded, drive them into a hostile town, and as we get into the town, some assbag in black pajamas pops out around the corner with an RPG-7 and dumps it into the side of that truck and gets lucky and destroys that vehicle, he now just killed 10 guys with a single fucking grenade. Alternatively, we stop the truck short, get everybody out, push the security element out in front, walk the truck into town. When same said assbag in black pajamas with an RPG-7 pops around the corner, he gets shot in the fucking face before he can get the round off. Right, we act as a security element for that vehicle. One, not only is that vehicle a huge fucking force multiplier because of the weapon system on top of it.
He yells at me for
believe it or
not being
Mark
able to
19s
speak
and 50
English.
gals are pretty goddamn good. But 2, they're our fucking ride home. The last thing we want is for one of those trucks to get destroyed and we gotta hike 5 clicks back to the fucking base or wherever the hell we're going. Job number 1, when we're out there with the trucks, is protect those fucking vehicles. Is everybody clear on the usage of a staggered column?
Yes, for Sergeant.
Yes, for Sergeant.
Because my English is stupid.
All right. Last 2 things we're going to go over here. First, when you are told to move, it means move now. Not 30 seconds from now, not a minute from now. Fucking move. Have to understand that you are a very small cog in a very big machine. But even the smallest fucking cogs can bring the biggest machine to a halt. That may seem fucking trivial. You know, I'm just a bootfuck private rifleman in a fire team. How can I slow anything down? Because you have a buddy team, you have a fire team, and you have a squad, and you have a platoon. And believe it or not, they will not fucking leave you behind. So that means if you slow down, your team slows down. If your team slows down, your squad slows down. If your squad slows down, your platoon slows down. If your platoon slows down, the entire fucking task force slows down. So if you're told to move, move immediately. All right, you don't need to sit out there for 30 seconds in an open field trying to get the perfect 45-degree angle on your fucking fire team wedge. Nobody gives a shit. Start moving and fall into your formation while you are moving.
Hey, Vesper.
Now, there is a caveat to this, and that is if you are too heavily engaged to move. That's fine. That's understandable. Okay, there are situations in which you are so heavily engaged, trying to move is actually more dangerous than fucking moving. That's fine. Okay, but you need to relay that information. If there's no gunshots going on, and we see you guys just standing out there in the open with your dick in your hand, there's no excuse for it. But if you're in a hellacious firefight, you got multiple wounded, you're being pinned down by a machine gun, that's understandable. But you need to let your higher element know. If you get an order from your squad leader to move, you need to relay that information to them. Don't leave them in the dark. All right, everybody clear on that?
For Sergeant?
Yes, for Sergeant.
All right, last thing we're going to go over, and this kind of directly correlates to that, is paying attention to your rate of movement and your body positioning. Okay? You are allowed to play in first person or third person. Don't give a shit. Right? I play in third person pretty much anytime I'm moving for better spatial awareness in terms of where my actual body is. Once I get into a firefight, especially in CQC, I drop into first person for better sight line.
I do it the same way usually.
What's important here is if you're one of those people that wants to play exclusively in first person, that's fine. More fucking power to you. Nobody's going to have any issue with that. Where there is an issue, though, is if you cannot pay attention to your body positioning when you're in first person. What I mean by that is, if you're supposed to be standing up, moving at a jogging pace, and you're, crouched trying to fucking jog, you're going to be moving slower than everybody else. Especially in a formation like that staggered column over there that you guys are looking at, that's going to cause an issue because you're going to cause a slinky effect all the way down the fucking formation. And that's going to cause everybody to bunch up, which increases the fucking threat level automatically because we're all so close to each other. So you have to pay attention to your body positioning and your rate of movement. Is everybody clear on that?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, for certain.
All right.
Yes,
Does
sir.
anybody have any questions on any of the fucking formations that we have gone over here, uses, so on? Tiniest little thing tickling the back of your fucking gray matter. Now's the time to ask. Private Darby.
First Sergeant, in the squad staggered column, where exactly does the
Hey,
squad
Trooper.
leader and squad medic go?
Squad leader and squad medic are generally going to be either the guys directly in front of the truck, so the first two guys out front, or the guys directly in the rear. But it's not set in stone, like with any fucking formation. This isn't scripture. Whoever fucking ends up where they are.
Roger, for Sergeant.
Private Porter.
Thanks, First Sergeant. I want to make sure I got the names correct. So the second to last formation is a squad line. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the third from the last, so the one down here is a squad column.
That is correct.
First Sergeant.
No, but he yelled at somebody
All right.
else.
Anybody else got any questions?
No, for Sergeant.
All right. Now I'm going to be handing you guys back over to Sergeant McCoy. Sergeant, they're all yours.
Thank you, for Sergeant. All right, follow me back down, bottom of the tower, gentlemen.
I have classwork due in 2.5 hours.
Last day when we had a jumper.
Hey, Sarge.
Yeah.
See, this is where TSV we just rappel off the side.
All right, school circle up. Take a knee.
How many different initial trainings have I attended ever?
All right.
6.
So, this is going to conclude day 1 at this point. Pretty pleased with what I've seen so far. Hope you guys have been taking good notes. I do want to close with this. So, we take this shit very, very seriously, as I hope you've noticed so far. This means you all need to buy in to the shit that we're doing here. All right? If one person does not, that ruins the experience for everybody else.
Yep.
So, make sure moving forward, you guys have been doing pretty well. We do what we do because we love what we do. We enjoy this shit. And we need all of you to enjoy it just as much as we do. That is our job, to make sure that you guys are getting into this and buying into what we are doing here. All right? Is everyone tracking on that?
All right, Sarge.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to keep it at that. As of right now, I am your direct chain of command. So any questions, comments, or concerns need to come to me directly. Best way to do that is through a PM on the forums. If I do not respond within 48 hours, you're clear to contact First Sergeant Brewer. However, there's yet to be an instance that is the case. Do not contact the First Sergeant prior to that, because his first question will be, did you contact Sergeant McCoy? And if you say no, he's going to tell you to fuck right off. All right? So is everyone clear that I am your chain of command at this time?
Roger, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, Sergeant.
All right. So just a reminder, you guys are all cleared to fill in for squad and platoon trainings as PV1s. You are not cleared to fill in for the task force size operations at this time. That requires graduating from OSUT and being the rank of PV2. All right. So that being said, day 2 will commence this Thursday, same time, 1900 hours. You guys were good,
One
being on
round,
time,
two to go,
no
and then
errors
test
or
day
nothing.
on
So
4.
let's keep that shit going. And that's all I got for starting. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over something with you guys here real quick.
Uh-oh.
Go into a little bit more detail as to what Sergeant McCoy was alluding to there in terms of buying in. All right, I'm gonna pull back the fucking curtain for you guys a little bit here. Give you an idea as to why someone, especially like myself, takes this as seriously as I do. As you should have been told at the start of today, all right, don't take anything said here personally. All right, when we're critiquing your performance, doing debriefs and so on and so forth, we don't give a shit about your personal feelings, all right? Not trying to fucking make you feel stupid or make you feel bad about yourselves. It's not what we're here for. All right, we're here to fucking train you to do a job. The best way to make sure that you don't make a mistake, the same mistake multiple times, is to point it out to you. Now, as I said, some of us take this job very seriously. Now, the reason that I myself take this job so seriously, I have over 100 personnel in this unit that I'm directly responsible for as a senior enlisted member of this unit. They are my direct responsibility. Now, I do have other senior enlisted that, you know, report to me, guys like Sergeant McCoy, Sergeant Caldwell, Sergeant Heckman, my platoon sergeants. But at the end of the day, they're my guys. Every single one of those enlisted personnel in their platoons are mine. They're my responsibility. So that means when you get out of this training pipeline that I fucking built and you eventually fuck up and get your entire team killed, that's my fault. Not your fault. My fault, because I didn't make sure you were trained properly. I take this shit seriously because of that, because of those 100+ enlisted personnel whose free time is given up week in and week out to do this. And they cannot do it without all of us. Cannot fathom the amount of time and work that goes into making something on this scale happen. I just spent over 2 hours in a meeting with SSHOT personnel just to set up the missions for the next 2 weeks of the fucking deployment. More than 2 hours went into just the planning of it, let alone the operation orders that are going to be written, the fucking warnos that are going to be written, the S2 briefs that are going to be written, the S2 fucking intel work that's going to be done, so on. By the time it's all said and done, this 2 weeks of operation is probably going to have close to 30 hours worth of fucking man hours put into it. All voluntarily. Nobody gets fucking paid to be here. So that means if you don't buy in, if you don't take it seriously, you are wasting the time of well over 100 people because you're selfish. Being selfish don't work here. I promise you, I will bounce you the fuck out of this unit before you even realized what happened. So you need to buy in. This is your virtual gut check moment, all right? Make the decision yourself right here and fucking now if something like this is what you want. Because if you cannot buy in, if you don't want to put that much effort into a fucking video game, then this may not be the place for you. But if you want something unique that you will not find somewhere else, a community, a brotherhood, whatever the fuck you want to call it, put in the time, put in the work, and buy the fuck into what we're selling. Everybody clear on that?
Alright, for Sergeant.
Yes, for Sergeant.
All right. That's
I
all
get
I got.
paid.
Sergeant McCoy, carry on.
Cool for Sergeant. All right, Sergeant Steele, Specialist Perrin, any comments?
Negative, Sergeant.
Negative, Sergeant. Thank you.
Roger. All right, PV1s, any questions or comments from you? Put a C or Q in side chat about anything we've covered today or anything moving forward at this time. All right. That will conclude day one, gentlemen. You are all dismissed. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. Disconnect from the server this time.
All right.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you, First Sergeant.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
That is all for today. I'm gonna cut everything. I'll see if I can get this put up. And just to put a quick note on what someone just said in chat, a lot of work goes into Arma communities, and some people take it really, really passionately. So I will not literally. I'm not gonna let people stay in here and say stuff like that, because my Zeusing, setting up all those missions weekly, takes a lot of my time, and that's why I admire the mission work in the 506th, because they spend a lot of time, because it's not just the missions, they also do full-blown warnos and intel reports, and all this crazy stuff that I only dip
you
my
guys aren't
pinky
supposed
in.
to still be in the classroom once the classroom is over.
Okay.
Moving now.
I dipped my pinky in when I was in the 501st, and I wrote Warnos, and I wrote hidden documentation within my Warnos, and all this crazy stuff. But even then, there's even more work done in 506 mission files. I've seen it. People sent me shit. I got inspired by that for some of my other stuff way back in the day. So people get really fucking passionate about it. So welcome to Arma. People put a lot of stuff in. But anyway, that is all I've got. Thank you so much for watching, if indeed you still are. Go operate operationally. Of course, Heckman inspires us all. And take care, and we'll be back on tomorrow. We've got Mass Effect Secret Squirrel and some other fun stuff. Cheers.